This episode is sponsored by Ultra Running. Check out their latest shoe, the Lone Peak 9 Plus, and listen in later to my interview with Brian Beckstead, Ultra Footwear co-founder. Visit ultrarunning.com.au or visit your local specialty running store to shop now.
Welcome to episode 376 of the Inside Running podcast. It's been a relatively quiet week in the world of distance running and Brady's on annual leave, but our guest host has been banging out 190 kilometre training weeks. So we should be able to fill 90 minutes with that recap, along with some running news, an Ultra shoe review and listener question. But firstly, welcome to my co-host and the man who back in 2009 finished second at the Barwon Banks 10K fun run, Julian Spence. How are you, Moose?
Good. 2009.
Yeah.
Barwon Banks.
Do you know who beat you?
No.
Scotty Rantel.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
He ran 32 minutes and you ran 34.
Oh, not even close. Not 2009. I was playing footy. I think I was playing footy that year. Jeez.
Do you remember the event?
Nah, I don't remember.
Oh,
but
really?
I did, like, going over to my parents' house over Christmas and stuff. I pulled up an old certificate where I did a Barwon Banks fun run in, I'm going to say it was like 1994 maybe, when I was about 7 years old. And that race went on for a long time, and then it finished. It just ended, and the river run came up. So the river run's like the new Barwon Banks.
Yeah.
That was Geelong's fun run for a long time.
Yeah, I've got a few different runs here that I was going to bring up, but I might save them for another time that I host. The old, I was going to bring up the Yuyang's Trail 50K that you won, but then I saw there was only about 40 people in the race. So I'm like, won't go that one.
Can only beat who shows up, mate.
That's true. That's very true. All right. Should we, how you been anyway?
Yeah, all right. I got a good weekend, so I'm going all right. Tired though.
We'll introduce our guest host, shall we? She finished 22nd at the 2023 World Cross Country Champs and last year won National Cross Country, as well as some of the country's biggest road races, including Sydney to Surf, Gold Coast Half, Melbourne Half, Burnie 10 and Noosa Bolt. Welcome back to the Inside Running podcast, Leanne Pompeani.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm back.
Yeah, thanks for giving up some time. And you're training up in Perisher at the moment, the highest place that you can train in Australia.
Exactly right. Highest point. Yeah, we're up here just like, half of all the runners in Australia. Well, most of them are at Falls Creek, but in terms of altitude, plenty of runners doing altitude at this time of year.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to hear sort of the ins and the outs of how it all works up there. But before that, maybe let's recap. So we last had you on just after Melbourne Half, where you had a win there, and after that you won Noosa Bolt, which I guess going in was probably a little bit of a surprise to you. Like, I wouldn't say 5K was probably like going to be one of your strongest events. How was that race for you?
Yeah, Noosa Bolt was heaps of fun. When I found out Georgia Griffiths was running, I thought, well, she has the Aussie record in the 3K, so 3 and 5K is quite close, even though it doesn't always, a good 3K doesn't mean a good 5K, but I knew she was going to be probably the one to try and beat. But then given that, she went to the Olympics, took some time off, and I guess I just raced it how I needed to race it, which was, don't leave it to a kick.
And I guess then we moved on to Zatopek, where obviously like Zatopek was going to be like probably another step up, with Rose there. So how did you rate your run? Give us a bit of I know after the race we sort of said that like your chances of winning were really to like wind it up probably a long way out, and that really didn't happen. But how did it pan out from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, championship racing is very scary to me because obviously that's not my style of racing, and I think it's pretty obvious. But it's hard because you want to, that is, if I wanted to win, and I knew that wasn't guaranteed either because obviously Rose and Lauren had amazing years last year, both with Aussie records. So it would have to be hard pretty much the whole way to get the win. But then I thought, well, they can match that as well. Like a couple of years ago, I wound it up, but they could do that this year if it played out like that. So even if I had taken it from the gun and tried tiring them out, they probably could have gone with it as well. So it was a little bit scary at the time, thinking, should I just lead? Should I just carry everyone through? And maybe get out kicked anyway, or should I sit back? And obviously Lauren, I decided to sit back, and we just sort of let Lauren do the tactics. And then it was getting closer and closer to, so we passed halfway, well past halfway. We're getting close to the 10 laps to go, and I thought, I really cannot leave it any longer than this, otherwise there'll be more people here, and that's even more dangerous for myself. So with 10 laps to go, I sort of started picking it up, but it wasn't aggressive enough really. And even on the track, I was sort of, ticking off some laps thinking this isn't hard enough. This needs to be harder. But then with a lap to go and those two are still on me, and just, I knew it. I knew what was going to happen. 300, they just blast off. Really, it just left me behind. So I couldn't have done much more, especially with, that last lap. There's nothing more I could have done with that. Yeah, I maybe could have done something a bit differently with the whole race, but that would have changed the whole race. So it is what it is.
It's pretty easy for Croaks to sort of sit back in his mansion in Canberra and pot shot you after the race from his gaming chair.
That's what I do.
Don't worry, I knew it.
I'm just a commentator these days. Isn't that what commentators do?
What happens though, Croaks? The athletes will tell you that there's a bit of risk in that, because you can look like a real deal if you start to get off the front and you don't have the fitness behind you, and then you come 10th instead of second or third, like you could potentially banking on. You really need to commit to it for it to work.
I don't think Leanne was going to look silly in that race, though, Moose. Not given what she'd done throughout the last 6 months.
Oh, yeah. But to be honest, like I said, with a lap to go, and I looked at the big screen, because it's right there when you're coming through, I thought, I just knew. I knew what was going to happen.
So with that last lap and what those two girls did to you, like, I know you've come on the podcast previously and you said, like, I'm still keen on the track. I still feel like I want to, achieve more there. Does that sort of inspire you or demoralize you, like coming away when those girls are able to like put that much into you over the last 300 meters?
It's both. And I think I said to you, I ran with you after, and I said, now I'm really keen to, like, not that I'm naturally quick, so I'd have to work a lot on my speed, but yeah, I want to work on my track speed now, but obviously now's not the time because I'm training for something else. But it's a bit of both, but it shows, I think there is a difference as well being a championship racer, championship runner. Just you do need that change of gear, especially even in 10K.
Yeah, well, you do if you've got Rose Davies in the race with you.
Yeah.
That was that was just so amazing to watch. I mean, you would have seen it from behind.
Yeah.
But that was just incredible, the turn of pace they had.
Yeah.
61 seconds, last 400 or something?
Something like that. And it's funny, I can't remember who I think I might have been Rose said. So her plan was to go with 300 to go, and Lauren's must have been as well, because Lauren started first, and then then Rose took off, and then I just said, see you later. Let's just try and hold on for third.
And you said that now's not the time to be sort of working on your track speed. Do you have an announcement for us? Like, what are you training for?
I guess I can't hide it any longer. I am. I'm doing Nagoya Marathon.
Very good. So debut. How many weeks until that race?
I think it's 8. I think 9th of March. Because it goes Osaka, Tokyo, Nagoya. Yeah.
And what was sort of the negotiation? So what were your other options that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think we were pretty keen on Japan just because of how it all, it seems to work out nicely with not a big time difference. The Japanese are very welcoming. So that helps. Not that one in Australia would have been a bad option. Obviously our girls have done it, and for a debut, obviously it's fine. But I didn't want to travel halfway across. I didn't want to go to the other side of the world to do a debut. I think that's just a little too much pressure on myself to do that. But Japan seemed to work. So we did look at Tokyo because Tokyo is an ASICS race. So there were a few chats. Like I did get a start in it, but not much else. So it was that's nice, but maybe in the future, once I've run something and I can get a little bit more assistance, will be good. But yeah, Nagoya, I paced Nagoya 2023, I think, and I paced Izzy's pack when she raced that. So I've seen half of the course, and they're just super welcoming and had a little bit more to offer. So yeah,
a bit like Moose and Osaka, really. It's pretty good. It's pretty good over the first half.
Not much to see in the back half anyway. It's all roads. But the Nagoya's been notoriously sort of good hunting ground for Aussies as well.
Yeah, and I think particularly MTC, because they've got a good connection with the race director there. So they, so it's, and hopefully, hopefully some other Aussies are there. So I've got some familiar faces, but yeah, either way, it's fine.
And how far into marathon training are you, and how have you found the change from training for the 10K half marathon stepping up to the marathon?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of went straight into it after Zatopek. There wasn't really much time to think. I guess the first couple of weeks probably was a little bit humbling. I did think, I thought stepping up 20 to 30K was going to be not a breeze, but I was pretty tired.
You mean a week? Like K's a week?
Yeah. I don't know why I just thought, that'll be, a bigger long run and a couple of sessions that are a bit longer. But I was pretty tired. The first week after Zatopek, I did 190. So that was my biggest week. I did 190 for 3 weeks. And just last week, went down a little bit. I guess we're just working through it. Like I trust what we're doing. I like the program that we've sort of setting out. But obviously we won't know. Yeah, we just don't know yet.
Do you want to talk us through how you're structuring your block? Because it's you're not working on a standard sort of 7-day cycle. Yeah,
so we decided to go with 3 sessions, 1 week, first week. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, just like normal, what we would normally do. Maybe some of the sessions, like a Thursday threshold, will be a bit longer. Saturday, for example, if it was, maybe a couple more Ks there. Tuesday still on the track, but reps a bit longer and not focusing so much on, trying to hit, faster 400s and 200s, whatever, but still doing them. And then week 2 is just Tuesday, Friday session and a Sunday longer run. So, yeah, I do enjoy that, yeah.
And quality in those longer runs, or just time on your feet?
So we've sort of decided well, what we have been doing last sort of 10K, picking it up. So doesn't have to be anything crazy for the first. I mean, obviously, I've only done 35K as my longest run so far. But yeah, picking it up towards the end, we might, fiddle around with that as we go on. But so far, that's all it's been.
And is that pickup also on the weeks where you do the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or just on the weeks where you do Tuesday, Friday sessions?
Just the Tuesday, Friday sessions. Yeah. Because it is a massive difference when you do a session on the Saturday, backing up for a long run, to having Saturday just easy. So there's no pressure for running fast on Sundays with the 3 sessions for the week.
It bucks the trend a little bit, this type of program, compared to what a lot of the other marathoners are doing out there, like with the massive long run sessions and even the midweek kind of marathon pace stuff. Is Des, like, has he looked at what Andy and Rose are doing? Because I mean, Andy's kind of nailing it right now.
Yeah. I don't think so much looking at them. He ran a lot with Rob Di Castella when he was running. So I think he goes off their style of training more. But yeah, I think I do like we're sort of trying to have a bit of both with the 3 sessions a week and then the 2 sessions a week, with the Friday being the longer one. And it is kind of nice for the second week to, you do the session on Tuesday and you're like, oh, I have 2 days. How good is having 2 days in between?
Are you doing midweek long runs or not so much?
Yeah, so that also will change depending on the week. 1 week it'll be longer, and then the next week the Wednesday run will be a little bit shorter, but still getting in roughly the same Ks. Does that make sense? It still works out to be, in terms of at the end of the week. Yeah.
How's the hammy been?
That manager. You're going, okay, yep. That are good.
She's tough, Moose. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I know. That is, like, imagine pushing through 190K. Good on you.
And with your longer Friday sessions, like, I know everybody loves, because it's your debut, everyone's like, well, what time are you targeting? And are these longer marathon sessions based around particular paces or just an effort?
Yeah. Well, I think, so what you've seen on my Strava, I haven't done too many of the long sessions yet. I've done only a couple. And we've chosen to do them around Lake Burley Griffin, but the whole lake. So half of the lake, I will admit, it's pretty hard to hit. Like, you're probably going off more marathon effort, whatever, obviously we haven't done one yet, so whatever that is, what I think it is. But when you're rolling over the hills on the other side of the lake, you can't really look at the watch and be like, oh, I'm struggling to hit whatever, 3:23 or whatever, 3:25. So that's a little bit, because we don't have anywhere really. Actually, I did run around Yarrabee Pond for the first time after our long run the other day, and that's very good. So in terms of, we haven't really settled on what time. I mean, it really also depends what pace groups they've got set up for Nagoya. Because generally how it goes, like Andy said, you kind of have to pick one or run by yourself. So, we'll wait and see. But obviously,
ballpark.
I can't be too disappointed with anything really for the first one, unless it's a massive blow up. But
Izzy has the fastest debut, 2:28. What is it? 10? 2:28:10. So
I'm gonna say that goes down, Moose.
Yeah, I think.
You never know. You never know.
Well, what's the qualifier now for ladies world champs?
2:23.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. So Because normally Nagoya's pace for that, like there's a pace group for that.
Yes, there's also, sorry, you just reminded me. So Nagoya this year is actually the Japanese trials for world champs.
Okay.
For the women,
Right.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so that'll be a massive pack around there.
So yeah, you imagine there'll be a pack going it, yeah.
And how are you feeling pressure-wise? Because I feel like a marathon debut, although I'm sure you do feel some pressure, like in a way it's a free hit. Like, you know, I'd almost say there's more pressure on you racing domestically on the roads over 10K half marathon when you're expected to actually win or be super competitive, where, hey, it's your first marathon. We know that most people don't nail their first one. Like, how you feeling from a pressure point of view?
Yeah, that's it. I did say to you, like, I maybe get worried about too much pressure getting, too much pressure on myself. And you're right, it is the debut and anything can happen. You're not expected to go up and run a world record at first go. But that sort of reminds me, at Zatopek, actually, the funny thing was, as soon as I crossed the finish line, I couldn't believe I crossed the finish line from the race, and I had people calling out to me, "When are you debuting in the marathon?" I thought, mate, I just finished it. It's not like I take the hit, okay? I'm not a track runner, but I mean, I can't put, anything can happen. I'd love to have a good one. I'd love to have a good experience is probably more the thing. And know that there's plenty more in me. Feeling like, you know what, that's just the beginning, whatever I happen to do. I don't know.
Yeah, so let's talk about like your setup in Perisher. So like who you're staying with, who books the accommodation, who does the cooking, you know, is it hard training for a marathon up there because, you know, there's not that many running routes to do?
Yeah, so Dick Telford is a member of the lodge that we're staying in. So it's all lodges up here in Perisher. Obviously, I'm not coached by Dick, but we're very close. All the groups are very close, actually. So at the moment, we've got Telford's group. Some of my guys from my group are in another lodge, and Philo Saunders' group is also in another lodge up in Perisher at the moment. So these are the usual suspects that come to Perisher. It's nowhere near as busy as Falls, but in our lodge we've got Cam Myers, Aaron Parker, Aidan Velton, and a few of the other Telford guys. In terms of cooking, we tend to sort of do it room by room. Like each room will just cook for your partner and yourself. So I cook Aaron's dinner. And the other guys just sort of sort out between themselves. And it's very handy having Jindabyne 20 minutes away, so we can actually do proper Woolworths shop, like grocery shop, and everything else in there, gym, track. So that's real handy. We probably find ourselves going down there maybe a bit too often for coffee and whatever, but we definitely haven't been bored up here though. It's actually been really good. We've got Jai Edwards is up here as well. Just looking at his stationary bike here in the room with the treadmill, everything's up here. So what else?
What are the trails like there compared to say Falls Creek or Canberra?
Well, I haven't been to Falls, so I can't compare. I can compare to Canberra, and Canberra just tops everything. So I did say to you, Brad, that maybe marathon training wears on you pretty quickly up here, just because it is a bit limited and it's pretty hilly. So sort of for long runs, you're either, and it's probably the same at Falls, I'm not sure, but long hills to get to where you're going, and just a lot of repetitive running, which you sort of put up with for a few weeks, but after a few weeks you are ready to go home. And I think it will be easier once I go home in about a week to then start getting in, to continue with getting in Ks, but just, not feel so like, I have to run that same trail again.
Because even your long runs, it seems to be up there, and I've only been up there a couple of times, but there's lots of just out and backs. Like there's not really many places where you can do nice big sort of loops like you can at Falls Creek. You know, like one of the standard long runs up there is start at Charlotte's Pass, run up to the top of Mount Kosciuszko, and then back down. So it's like half your long run is straight up, half your long run is straight back down. You could add a little bit around Blue Lake. But I noticed you've been running from like Perisher up to Charlotte's Pass, then back down to Perisher, like just up and back.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit different because I'm the only one running far, so everyone else is, others are sort of maxing out at 20k. So what I've been doing, for example, on Sunday, I leave an hour earlier. I start an hour earlier. I just do a few, fluff around, get some Ks in, meet them, then we go. And we run, our last 2 long runs have been from Perisher to Charlotte's Pass rather than Charlotte's Pass to Kosciuszko. And that's just along the road. It's just that's definitely net uphill, but it's still bit of downhill there to break it up. But it is hard to get long runs in here up here.
So you're in the mountains, but you're running on an asphalt road.
Yeah, just the main road.
All your doubles and everything just on that road.
No. So there's one sort of dirt trail that most of our runs are on. But again, very repetitive. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Every day is on that same trail, but Yep.
All right. Do you want to take us through then what you did for the last week?
Yes.
Well,
so
hold on a sec, Croaks.
Yep.
Let me just pull up Leanne's Strava, like I did last time.
What do you see there?
Oh, the follow is still yet to be confirmed. I'm still in the request folder here.
Have you seen how many people follow her and how many she follows?
Oh no, I can't see anything.
So she has 6 followers, Moose. 6. And she follows 87. She might have 7 followers if she accepts you.
Yeah, maybe.
You're in the lucky list, are you, Croaks?
Actually, let's just go through who they are. So we've got Des, obviously.
Yeah.
James Templeton.
Yeah.
Sean Crichton. Aaron Parker. Myself. And Sam Hopper.
Oh.
Jeez, what's Hopper doing in there?
You know what?
Actually,
I noticed something here. All men. Will not let women look at her training.
No. Sam Hopper was a recent addition because he said, "Oh, can I please just see what you're doing?" Actually, Sam's up here at the moment because we're doing some shooting for ASICs. But he said, "Oh, can I just see what you're doing for this marathon prep?" And I said, "It's fine."
I feel very honoured to be in the top 6.
Hey, Leanne, I would also like to see what you're doing for this marathon.
Okay, all right. I'll click the accept. I'll go through.
It's been sitting there for a year, I reckon.
You're accepted for the next 20 minutes recap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then I'm booted. Well, download it all.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want me to run through?
Go from Monday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we decided, actually Des miscalculated this week, but we'll get to that. Monday we just did 10k in the morning. We drove down to Jindabyne, ran at the lake there, and then at the track we just did, a few of us just did strides. Nothing amazing there. And then I do have a treadmill run that afternoon, 35 minutes, and I think that was because the weather was pretty bad. I think it was, visibility was like, 1 meter in front of you. It was super foggy.
Whose treadmill? How's that all sorted up there?
It's Cam's treadmill. Cam Myers bought the treadmill, brought it up. So, and that's just been sitting here since November. So, yeah.
What, how do you get a treadmill up there? Those things are huge.
Yeah, he put it in someone's big car. Yeah, right. He's committed.
Like 200 kilograms.
It must be a pretty lightweight one though.
Yeah, it's not massive. Yeah. It can handle easy jogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Tuesday morning, we went back down to the track for a session. So this week, Didn't go exactly to plan. And it's funny because just a week earlier, Des was saying, you know what, like throughout this, you know, however many weeks, I can't remember how many weeks we had from the beginning, maybe 12, you know, things will go wrong. Like you're not going to get every session in. Something's going to happen. You might get sick. You might get a bit sore. And this week, you know, we're pretty early on, but it didn't go to plan. But track session, so 5K warm up. The session I was meant to do, so I got halfway. I was not a happy person after this, but it was meant to be a 2K threshold, 3 times a mile, 4x400, and then a 2400 threshold, so 6 laps to finish. But so I got the 2K threshold, and I got 2 by a mile, and then halfway through, not even halfway, 700 meters through my 3rd mile, my heart actually started going really quick. I've never really had it before while running. So I was sort of approaching the 600 point, and I thought, oh, like my chest feels a bit funny. And then, like, and I hadn't increased effort or anything. I was just doing the mile as I had been. And I wasn't even thinking it was that hard of an effort at that point. And then, yeah, within literally like 50 meters, my heart felt like it was just racing. Yeah, and I was like, I just had this sense of panic. Like, I was like, what is going on? So I stopped, and then I was sort of pacing around for a little while, like a bit panicked, and then it dropped. And then I saw Aaron, and I said, oh, my heart was just going a bit, like something just did not feel right there. What should I do? Should I continue? And he was telling me, no, like stop the session, don't risk anything there. So I was pretty disappointed, because probably most disappointed because it was actually the first session in a while where I wasn't just dragging my feet through it. I was actually hitting sort of the times, you know, solid times, and I still felt like even during that 3rd mile that I had so much more running in me. Like I was still sort of holding back. So I think I was on for an okay session, which was, yeah, annoying to have to stop. But
were you wearing a heart rate strap?
No, it was just the watch. And I did look at the watch after, and it showed a big spike, but like the heart rate, everything started low. Like, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't a high heart rate, but the graph shows a spike.
Yeah. Because you're just using the wrist heart rate. It may be,
yeah.
Like, heart rate may have been 120, which is obviously like not correct, and it may have gone up to like 150 or something.
Yeah. The trend was right, but the heart rate was like, well, it only says 150. yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah. And I called Des, and he said, look, if I was there at the track, I would have told you to stop. So yeah, I was pretty grumpy, but so I ended up doing a 10K jog after that, after just sitting around for a little while. Yeah. So
what next
like
for that then? Like, how do you get treatment on that? Do you see someone?
I don't know. I mean, once the heart rate dropped, I was fine. Like, yeah. And it dropped pretty quickly once I stopped and sort of walked around in circles for a few seconds. That's when I thought, oh, should I? Like, what should I do? Like, I did panic for a bit because it did feel so abnormal, but I don't know. Yeah.
Just be careful with it, Leanne, because I know, like, I had, before I actually went and got tested, like, there was a few instances where I knew something wasn't right, but I was always putting it down to something else, like, because I wasn't wearing my heart rate strap at the time, and it was like, oh, it's a hot and humid day today. That's maybe why I'm feeling short of breath. It wasn't until I had the heart rate strap that, you know, I went, oh, yeah, my heart rate is there's something definitely wrong here. So just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I will. And a few people just messaged me the next day saying, oh, how are you feeling jogging today? I thought, yeah, I feel okay. But of course, if it keeps happening, if it happens again, I'll probably, and then that afternoon just did 40 minutes easy, with some of the others doubling that afternoon. And then Wednesday, Des actually said for Wednesday to do a steady run. So when he says steady, it's, a bit quicker than jogging pace. So thankfully, I had Cam Myers and Aiden that don't mind a fast run. So they said, yeah, we'll join you. So they had 10K. I did 16. And pretty much after the first K, after leaving the lodge, then we just started picking it up. And we set the pace pretty early. And I think once we realized that we're running sort of sub 4s from the second K, we sort of were like looking at each other like, all right, well, we've done it now. So then we were just rolling, between 3:35 to 4 minutes for the 16K. So I'd call that a steady run, probably more like a tempo, but yeah.
So 352 average at 1,700 meters above sea level. Pretty good.
Yeah, and it was nice to have company for most of it. But Cam actually was like, he was like, oh, that was actually getting a bit tough. And I said, well, you did a hard session the day before. I did half a threshold session. So
is it pretty hilly up there? Like on that road?
It's what did we get? What did I get for elevation here?
About 160.
About 160 for the 16K. So that's pretty much as flat as we can get it up here.
Yeah, that's not that's not that hilly, I guess.
No, yeah, that's
hillier in Canberra, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like a bit of a service road, isn't it, along there? That run?
Yeah, because it continues on to the other like Guthiga and yeah.
It's very different to Falls Creek trails, Moose. In our Falls Creek have it's very grassy with like the tire tracks.
Yeah.
Whereas
here, this is like a gravel road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds nicer.
We'll go with that. 30-minute double. So this was my Friday session week. So 2 sessions for the week. So Thursday I just did 10K easy in the morning. And then I decided to drive back to Canberra to do my session for Friday morning. So that afternoon I was back home and just did 7K in the afternoon. I just thought for a long continuous session, not many places around here that will really get what we want. So at 7:30, I met Des. He came on the bike, did a short warm-up, 15 minutes. And then the session so this one also didn't go to plan, which was kind of frustrating. But the session planned was 4 sets of 15 minutes with 5-minute float. I managed to get, and this is around Lake Burley Griffin, just nearly the whole thing. I managed to get, I missed the last 2 minutes of the last rep and obviously the last float because it's meant to be 80 minutes total. Because silly me put shoes too small on my feet for a marathon session or just a long session. And my toenails were really wrecked. And I knew I put them on before the session, and these were my normal shoes that I wear for like 10Ks. I put them on and I thought, oh, these might be a problem later. And yeah, they were. And halfway through the session, I looked at Des and I said, oh, my toenails are going to be so sore after this session. Like, I don't think I'm going to have many. And then the last 15-minute rep, I was actually going pretty well. Like, it was going fast. I was doing it faster than the others, and I felt all right, but I could feel my toenails just jamming into the front. And I took one step, and I think one of them just burst because all the blood had been just pooling in there, gathering up. And that's when, and if anyone with black toenails know the pain from the pressure that builds up under the toenail. I took one step and I just stopped. Des thought I rolled my ankle, and I said my toenails are done here. So I got through most of the session. I ended up getting 20.8K. Probably would have been like 23 total. So not too bad to just miss the last float. But again, I was frustrated that it cut short. I had to cut it short. But and it was a solid session. But it's better to know now that size for longer distance is I have to go a size half a size up at least.
You're really turning into a marathoner now with sore toenails.
Oh my goodness! That was from that session. The battle, the battle wounds, 2 black toenails. Going to lose them both. Yeah.
Should we give the listeners some splits?
Oh yeah, yep. Let's go here. So again, yeah, this was all continuous, and because it was by time, not by K's, obviously Strava for me because I don't pay for it.
I can tell you.
Can you see it?
For each one, yeah. So the first.
Okay, yeah.
First 15 minutes was 3:23s, and then I guess floated, jogged for 5 minutes at 3:54s. Your next 15 minutes was 3:25s, and like this is the lumpy part of the lake as well. So it's not flat. And then the next 5 minutes of recovery was 3:55s, 3:27s for the third 15 minutes, 3:55s for the float, and then you're on 3:23 pace for the 12 minutes and 49 seconds that you did at the prep.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. Was it 20.8K at 3:30 average?
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't look amazing, and like probably effort-wise, I mean, I don't know, I could have gone much harder for those first few 15-minute reps. Just these pesky toenails that, well, not pesky toenails, I just need bigger shoes. 5K cool down there. And then I drove back to Perisher and used the treadmill again for 35 minutes for the double. Then Saturday, all the guys here obviously had their Saturday truck session. So just went to the track with them and jogged around for 48 minutes. Just easy Saturday morning there and 32 minutes in the afternoon. And then Sunday long run, I was also a little bit grumpy just because I just wasn't in the mood for repetitive running, and I had 35K and it was, a few repeats of the same trail. But so I did 35K, 4:18 average, picked up the last sort of 8K of the run. About
500 meters of climbing over that 35K.
Yeah. So running from Perisher to Charlotte's Pass was probably where we got most of that.
And heart was good for the rest of the week?
Yeah, didn't feel it at all. So I don't know. I'm hoping I don't feel it ever again, but it definitely was I mean, you probably know, sort of you just it doesn't feel right, and you sort of have a little panic, not panic attack, but a sense of panic, and I don't really know what was right to do in the moment there, whether to keep going and finish the session or just call it there. So yeah.
Fair commute for a Friday session. I was about 2.5 hours back to Canberra.
2:15. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, is there nothing in Jindabyne that you could do, or in some country roads?
Not really. Oh, maybe you could find some country roads, but you don't really know what the people are like. It's unfortunately, Lake Jindabyne is so big, but it's just not. They don't have any path or anything really running along it, so it's
Yeah, that's always annoying when you see a nice big lake.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be something good.
Seems like the first thing you'd do as a town. Like,
put
a trail around there.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Moose?
The nutrition of your long runs, like, are you working off a certain protocol at the moment?
Not really. I think I think we will probably think about it more and do a bit more. With the long runs, I've just been taking a gel or two throughout. But I probably
just
will.
One or two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the 35, I took 2.
Deep training, remember?
Going old school. That's what that's right. Real old school.
How much would you have taken on your last marathon?
During the marathon?
No, for the long runs.
Yeah, I don't take that much on the training. Not if I'm running easy. Probably like I would do more than that though. I would still be taking 4.
I was a bit like you,
okay.
Leanne, though. Like when I ran my best marathon in that prep, I was taking two gels for a long run, and probably two gels on a long run that included like 5K pretty solid at the end of it. So I was doing actually a lot of fasted running back then as well.
Yeah. I mean, and plus, obviously, plus breakfast before. I don't go in with nothing, but yeah, 2 gels, but probably will start doing more as we go.
Do you have some rough patches during that 2.5 hours when you're in? Because one thing I found was when I was trying to move up in distance, and like I'm talking back in like 2013, like going from like 2-hour long runs to 2.5 hours was like a pretty big jump. And I did notice that there's a few times when I would start to bonk a little bit. Have you experienced any of that, or pretty good?
Pretty good so far. I think for me, the biggest thing is just getting so thirsty. I think you noticed that on that time. It's the thirst. I just need, sometimes I said to Aaron as we were running, I was like, I don't even want this gel. I just want a drink of water. That's all I'm thinking about. So yeah, but obviously the gel is, I took the gel, but I haven't really experienced anything yet. Yeah, like that.
Are you part of the AIS or does Canberra have one?
Yeah, that's
ACTAS.
ACT
not part
Academy
of that.
Sport.
You're not part of that. Oh wait,
No.
you run for Sydney, right? Or like?
No. I'm with Western Creek. I'm with ACT, but
So you don't have access to that, or that you're not on their list?
Well, yeah, both, neither. I don't know how.
That's insane.
I don't know how. Like, I don't know what the criteria is. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much. Oh, yeah, like ACTAS, I don't know much about it. I don't think they offer. I don't think they offer that much support.
Yeah, I only know Cam is the only person I know on it.
Really?
He'd be. Is he more ACTAS, or is he just like AIS through AA?
Yeah.
I reckon he's probably more
might be
like
right. Yeah.
getting support through AA and AIS rather than the state or the territory institute.
Yeah.
So you're not on any level of NAS or anything like that, Ian?
No.
Oh, wow. Gee.
I do get tested though. I'm on the testing, but I don't get any help.
We'll stick. So that puts it. I think that is a bit of a disadvantage there, given that a lot of the girls that you run against will have full access to dietitians and psychologists and physios, sports doctors, pretty much full gym facilities. Like I know in Victoria, the VIS offers a lot of that for the runners.
Yeah. I'm not sure what my competitors. I mean, there is the list on the AA website that's available to anyone to read. To see what level everyone's on, but I'm not sure how you get on it.
Well, yeah, it's not your fault. I mean, they should be reaching, like with your results and your potential. That seems crazy.
It's possibly more you have to achieve the result first in terms of become an Olympian first, and then yeah.
All right, Moose.
Yeah.
Tell us about your week.
It'll be a bit quicker because there's not as much
Sorry.
running. No,
it was good, Leanne. No,
it's just a quarter of the amount. Monday, I got out in the morning. I've still been waking up a little sore from the sciatica. So it was, the mornings are always worse. I ran just under 40 minutes. And then the next day was a Tuesday. Afternoon run, just knocked off work a little bit earlier and ran through some terrible loops through the industrial estate here. As bad as you could get really for a run, but the body felt good, and then I put it down to being in the afternoon, being a bit more warmed up. Started to get a bit warm around this time down here. Can't remember what that was. The next night, Wednesday, we had the Ultra event on at our store. So the founder of Ultra, Brian Beckstead, came down, and you've probably listened to him on the end of this episode. We did an interview with him at my house, and then we went to what we call it? I guess it's like a launch party for the shoe, but he he came and we got on buses. We went out and ran this trail run out at the Ironbuck Basin, and it's a really cool track. Like you can sort of see on the map, you run through this rainforesty Australian bush sort of setting, and then you come out on the cliffs and you've got this big view of a kind of like a real awesome cliff faces and points. And yeah, we went there especially to get the views and to test the trail shoes. The Lone Peak is a trail shoe. We'll talk about that later. But that was a really cool night. Pretty late. Ended up getting home about 10, and then woke up. Didn't really feel like running. So I ran again in the afternoon. I've been able to get out from work just probably half an hour early, and in the heat ran 40 minutes or so around this like where the store is, just a few estate areas. There's not very nice running whatsoever. I ran through this warm-up area that I've always just followed people. I've probably run in there 30 times, and I just follow people. And I got in there and I was looking around and I thought, how do I get out of here? And so I tried to get my Garmin, because the Garmin 965 has maps, but I didn't know how to use them. So I hit this thing called TrackBack, and it shows you where you started your run at, and then it gives you an arrow to follow, but it links it puts it on roads. So I was just followed these roads back to the store. And yeah, a bit embarrassing because I've run there 30 times and got lost, but a bit quicker. I mean, heart rate was warm, but that was 4:32 pace. Like that was much warmer. That was much faster than I've been running lately. Average heart rate for that run, 144. So not horrid, but I did have some high heart rates throughout. Like I got up to 161 jogging at like 4:30 pace. It's a little embarrassing still. It just can't get it down in this heat. I'm hoping that one day there'll be a cool morning where I just come out and all of a sudden the fitness proves itself. I ran single track the next day. Sciatica wasn't great waking up that morning. And again, the afternoon run following day from the store. I've decided that I'm not going to run any sessions until I can maintain a consistent, easy run heart rate. Because at the moment, if I go out for half an hour, the heart rate just pretty much increases and it doesn't plateau much. So I've got to get to a fitness level where I can run half an hour and it's all just sort of level and I'm comfortable. And there's no point in me doing a workout at the moment. We went for an hour with the group on Sunday. This was good to get back with a few people down at Anglesea Information Centre is where we met, ran over some hills, got to chat to people. An hour went so fast after doing all my running, which by myself. So yeah, nice to have a chat to people. And that was my week, 55k or so. It felt every step of it. I didn't think I could do any more than 55. Like that was a full amount for me. So
obviously the sciatic, because I saw you post yesterday, was like no good. So like, what's the next, I guess, plan of attack to try and get on top of the sciatic stuff? Because it's like, obviously you want to see some sort of progress from week to week, whether that's actually stopping running or doing something to, so you can get to the point where you can actually string together the training that you want to do to be able to then do sessions and get fit and compete.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's day to day, whether it's good or bad, and it's always worse in the morning, but it's definitely not getting worse overall. So I can run. I think there's been some good comments on my Strava, people giving me advice that just persist and it will get better. I see an osteo on a Saturday morning at the moment, and she has a few different sort of cracks at it with needles or with some manipulation or some like deep tissue massage. I've started to do this thing called foundation training. It's like 12 minutes in the morning, and it's hard to describe. It's something like yoga, Pilates, kind of mixed.
Body balance.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, he gave me shit. Remember that time when I wasn't running that much and I was going to the gym and I was doing these classes, body balance?
It's not
and
a class.
Club one, body balance.
Aerobics gear, I'm not there in my trackies doing that. This is me. I do it on my deck. I go real yogi with it. Yogi. Like I don't know. It's holding poses. I'm gonna have to send a video of it to you. You'll love it. But I do it. It's 10 minutes. It feels like I'm doing something good, and I'm doing this nerve flossing.
Nerve flossing. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you actually, because I don't have sciatica, but with my hammy problems, I do get a lot of nerve pain that goes along with it, and keeping the nerves healthy, I know, is a big thing.
Yeah, I do that twice a day. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, twice a day. And look, I don't really notice if it works or not. I'm not sure. But it's just something that doesn't make it worse. So I might as well do it. And hopefully it might have let's say there's a 5% effect on getting better. I'm just not feeling that 5% yet. But all of a sudden it hits. So I keep doing it. I've got a lot of time when you're only running 50K a week. Like, still in the gym. Still kick the footy a bit. Been going up. Got the footy boots on. Got some Mizuno footy boots. Kangaroo leather ones. Supposed to help the kicking, but it doesn't.
Any other knees good now?
Yeah, knees good. I've been smashing the quads in the gym. That's a good thing. Like, I've had plenty of time to bulletproof the rest of me. I'm doing it all. I'm doing all sorts of stuff in there. All this new stuff, like getting my heart rate up. So I'm doing like different movements put together. So I'll have like a big weight plate, like 15 kilos, and then I'll do a squat, and then I'll come up from the squat and do a big like shoulder press, and I'll do that, and it's just your heart rate goes really high. It's like probably, I don't know, a pump class in the gym or something, like in like a group fitness class. It's a different way to burn calories. That's how I'm looking. I'm like, you got to burn some calories if you're not running that much, because otherwise you're just going to get bigger and bigger.
All right, very good. I'll go through my week.
Hey, Brady always tells me that's a good week. Can't you tell me that's a good week?
Great week, Moose. Hey, well,
Thanks.
it's better than some of the weeks you had recently. It's on the up.
You're right. Yeah. All I need to do is hear that. It doesn't matter how bad it is. He'll tell me, and I feel good. So.
Good week, mate. Well done.
Thanks.
All right, so my week was okay. I'm still battling this Achilles thing. So Monday I took off because I only got through like 85 minutes on the Sunday, and my Achilles was pretty niggly for the last like half hour. So I took Monday off, and then Tuesday I went out to train with the group. I wasn't sure whether I was going to do the session. I was going to do the warm-up, start the session, and if I felt anything, I was just going to stop. I'm the sort of person where it's like, if I can't sort of train the way that I want to train, then I'm better off just taking a full step back and just getting my body completely healthy rather than just continuing and maybe getting through week to week, but not actually improving. So went out there, ended up getting through the session, and I didn't really have any soreness at all. So I did 2 sets of 8 400s off 30 seconds recovery, lap jog between the sets. And so although it sounds like it's sort of high intensity because it's 400s, like they weren't super quick. So the first set were between like 75 and 77 second laps, took 2.5 minutes recovery after the first set. And then the second set was similar, like 75 to 76 second laps. Got through the cool down okay. It's definitely like tender after I finish. So then on Wednesday, I got out for a longish run, but I'm finding at the moment it's pretty good for maybe the first 30, 40 minutes, and then it starts to get a bit shitty. So I did 64 minutes, saw my first brown snake of the summer.
Big one?
Yeah, big enough.
Yeah, they don't have to be that big.
It was, yeah, so Leanne, it was on that new bit of the trail that goes from Mulligan's out to Throsby. And I was sort of on the right-hand side of the trail, and because we haven't had a lot of rain here, the grass is sort of a bit brown as it is, and I was pretty much past this thing before I'd even saw it. And I was literally like, I was a meter from the side of the road or side of the trail, and it was just in the grass right there. And I was just like, whoa. And like from that point onwards, I'm like, all right, I'm sticking right to the middle of the track.
You hear it move? Is that how you knew it was?
Well, no, it's just I looked down and saw it, and I'm just like, because there's been a few other times where I've seen brown snakes in mulligans where I've got reasonably close to them, and they have actually sort of raised their head a little bit, like not quite ready to strike, but alert.
Yeah. That sends the heart rate up.
Oh, it's just you run past it, and then you're like, okay, I'm on high alert now for the rest of the run. But then you're also starting to think about, I'm out here, I'm less than a meter away from something that can actually kill me. Like brown snakes are like, I don't know, second or third deadliest snake in the world. Like, and I've got no phone. Yeah. So, but like, I don't get scared by it. Like, I don't stop running out there because of it. And most of the time they do actually move before you even get there. So, yeah, that was 4:21s. It was reasonably warm that afternoon. Thursday, got out for 10K, 4:25s. And then on Friday, I did a treadmill session, 6 by 6 minutes, 1 minute rest, all at 3:30 kilometre pace, so 17K an hour. This was like really fun. Actually, both sessions this week were really fun. And once I get on top of this Achilles, like this is the future for me. Like these just long, comfortably hard sessions, you know, like 75, 76 second. So I guess that's probably like, I don't know, 5 to 10K pace for 400s, and this sort of 60-minute pace effort for the for 6 minute reps. Like I could have done another, I don't know, 2, 3 of these 6 minute reps if I wanted to. Heart rate was hovering around 160 for most of the reps. And then I cooled down outside actually on the bike path. Saturday, got out, and this was sort of one of these days, Moose, that you were talking about before, like because it's been quite hot. I didn't run till 11:30 in the morning because we had little athletics, but it was probably only like 20, 21 degrees, but it had like some nice cloud cover. And I was running along, and it was the best I've felt, like 4:22s for an hour. I think my average heart rate was like low 130s, but 132 average heart rate, and a lot of it was actually in sort of the 120s, and I'm like, oh, this feels quite good. And because of my Achilles, I was running in the Asics Kayano 31, so it's not like a super fun poppy shoe. No. So that gave me a fair bit of confidence that, you know, fitness is actually not too bad.
Maybe you've got to listen to that a bit more. Wear the big bruises a bit more.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been doing. I've been wearing that and the Ghost Max too.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, I got out in the afternoon once again. So I've been in this habit now of, like, my body's not great in the mornings, and I just put it off till the afternoon when my body actually does feel better. We went to the movies Saturday morning as a family to watch like Sonic 3. So got out for 91 minutes. Once again, like my Achilles was just good for 45 minutes, and then it sort of just gets niggly. Like it's probably only 3, maximum 4 out of 10 pain, but I've sort of just got to the point now where, like, I don't want to basically be in the same situation in 6 weeks' time. Like, because I'm the type of person that if I can't go and run 2 hours because I've got a sore Achilles, then what's the point of me actually doing 2 sessions a week and all of this other stuff? I may as well just like take a step back, run 30 minutes a day while doing all my rehab stuff, and then actually build up once I'm pretty much 100%. I don't know. I'm the type of person, if I can't train properly, I don't really want to do it at all. So, and knowing that, you know, Valencia, December, like that's all I care about this year. And I said last week, so I can probably sacrifice the first 2 months of this year to make sure that my body is completely healthy before I start trying to actually ramp things up, because I do want to run some decent volume this year for this marathon prep. And the way my body is at the moment, like I couldn't run 2.5 hours. Like my Achilles would be screwed. So
yeah, we've seen you have Achilles episodes on the show in the past. I mean, it started with that, right? Road to Berlin, we lost you in the race there.
Yeah.
So have you thought about going to the same people you did back then? Because you got on top of that pretty quick.
Yeah, it was different though. Like, so this is the first time I've had insertional Achilles stuff, and so I had Jimmy Barker over on Friday. Him and his wife came over for like morning tea, and that's who's treating you, Leanne, like when you're in Canberra. And he had a quick look, and he's like, yeah, look, you've got the bursas inflamed there. Looks like you've got like the start of like a Hageland's sort of deformity on the heel. But with the road to Berlin, Moose, that was higher up and it was the paratendon was inflamed, and so they basically inserted some cortisone into that, and it was 100%. Whereas this one's more insertional Achilles tendonitis with bursa. So I think I think I can run half an hour a day, and I probably wouldn't have any pain at all. But I think while ever I'm doing sessions and I'm getting through the sessions, but it's flaring it up, and it's too much load for it to actually get better. And I just want to get it 100%. So I'm willing to sacrifice the next 1 to 2 months, and then hopefully then I can actually run 2.5 hours pain-free.
You need to get a bike out or something.
Yeah, I think I can maintain okay fitness off half an hour running a day, because the issue I always have when I come back from injuries is I haven't run for weeks, and then my body is just locked up, whereas 30 minutes a day is enough to keep everything moving so that running doesn't feel foreign when I start back.
Just imagine how fast he's going to roll his 30-minute runs. Yeah. Just a croaker praise loaded up every day.
It's going to be a session every day.
Yeah, probably don't run with him for a while. Probably when he messages you, like on that 8th message of the day, probably just ignore that one.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So for me, that was a week of just under 100K, 95 or something. Yeah, 95K. All right. Let's thank some Patreons. Moose, who you got?
Wow. Let me pull up our list of patrons. I have Tom Whitney from Adelaide. He's run 18:03 for 5K at 2023 Glenelg Classic, 38:19 for 10, which came during the 2024 City to Bay 12K race. You're not sure we can claim that there, Tom. 83:57 at last year's McLaren Vale Half, and 3:14 at the Barossa Marathon. I think he might be a site manager at Hansen Yuncken Construction Company. Hasn't been doing a lot of running since December and has been over in Japan skiing. Oh, not bad.
Good life.
Yeah, not bad at all.
And who have you got, Leanne?
I've got Ralph Goad from the UK. Goad, yeah.
It's like road, but with a G.
But yeah.
That's what I'm rolling with there.
Thank you, yeah. Based on his power of 10 profile, has run 18:27 at the Peckham Rye Park Run, 38:43 at the 2023 Total Guide Chile 10K, 82:17 at the 2024 Bath Half Marathon, and 2:54 at last year's London Marathon. Might also be the finance director at Cornish Bakery.
Thanks, Ralph. And I've got Daniel Firmston from Traralgon. Used to be a pro cyclist, and I coached Daniel and his partner for a while. He's run 17:16 for 5K, 36:01 for 10K, which came during the 2022 Burnley Half, where he ran 77 minutes, and has a marathon PB of 2:39 from the 2022 Melbourne Marathon. And he's a surveyor. So thanks for your support, Tom, Daniel, and Ralph, and all of our other patrons. We're in the process, Moose, of locking in a few sort of regular monthly shows. I think we can announce that, the UK boys that we had on a couple of weeks ago, they've locked in for the next 6 months or so doing a monthly show. I really enjoyed listening to those guys.
Good value, wasn't it? I thought so too. I like Aaron. He's good at quarterbacking it.
Very thorough in his research too.
Yeah, probably a little over-analytical. Clousy, good, funny guy. Dan?
Not
that
Dan's
funny.
Scientist, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's an elite.
Yeah, and he's a good follow on Strava because he puts up all of his, like, lactates and things like that, and you can sort of, like, work out roughly, like, how hard he's working in these sessions comparative to, like, marathon pace and stuff like that. So, they're going to be on once a month for the next 6 months. And, Cloudsy's on the comeback trail, which is good to see.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, would be. Running news. Shout out to Axel Coffee for bringing you this week's race results. Head to axelcoffee.com.au for 20% off your first order using the code IRP20. Now, we're a bit light on this week, but we're going to go to Valencia, Moose.
Yes. So I turned this on at the one probably about 2 minutes in, I was in the gym and I was like, oh, I'll have a little look and watch the men run through. I didn't see any ladies at the time that I had it on. And they went through in 2:48 through the kilometre. And I thought, 2:48? This is terrible. This is super slow for these guys. So I decided to turn it off and I thought, this is going to be boring. And so, honestly, I didn't really recognise anyone there. I knew we didn't have any Australians running that I knew of anyway. So I'm not overexcited by races that happen like 24 hours travel away that without any Aussies in it. So I didn't watch it. And then there was a bit of a message thread going telling us how fast the women were going there. And Hellen Ekale Lobun, who apparently was a 31:10 girl. Is that what Ali said?
Yeah, or 31:30 or something.
31:30 runner won the race in 29:30. So she just dropped a lazy 2 minutes off her PB to take the W here. You heard of her before, Leanne?
No.
Have you heard of any of those girls on the podium?
No, none of those. But I wouldn't mind dropping a lazy 2 minutes off my PB.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
To win the Valencia 10 as well. I mean, think about the 31:30 ladies we have.
Yeah.
And then thinking about them going and winning Valencia 10K. It just doesn't happen, does it?
I'm thinking, but
yeah. So anyway, Hellen won 29:30. She beat Girmawit Gebrzihair in 29:34, and Fotyen Hailyu ran 29:42. In the men's race, the European one in Andreas Almgren. I think he's from Sweden.
Yeah,
I believe. Yep. He ran 26:53 to set the European record. He beat Dominic Lobalu, who is Switzerland. Guess.
Yeah, I think he might
guess
be.
there, 26:54. And Vincent Langat was third in 26:55. So that's the Valencia 10K, and always fast there. Probably doesn't blow your mind the 10K results, even though it was a European record, because you just expect unbelievable stuff to come from Valencia, whether it's the half or the full or the 10K or even the 5K they have there. So you see 26:53 and you go, oh, that's not crazy.
Yeah. So that girl that won, her half PB was from 2023 at Gifu. She ran 69:53. Her PB on the track, 31:22, and a 5K PB is 14:45.
What's?
Yeah, her 5K PB was set in Japan 1st of December 2024. It's like she's basically doubled. She's just basically ran the same, and that's on the track.
Yeah.
She's just run that again back to back for 29:30.
A year later.
No,
that was December.
December.
6 weeks later.
Yeah, right. Why is she in? How did she get to Japan for a 5K?
Maybe she does part of the. Maybe she's part of a corporate team over there, because most of her PBs were set in Japan. Like a 3K, 8:37. That's not bad. But still, 8:37 doesn't equate to 29.
No, it doesn't at all. It doesn't.
Yeah. Pretty much all of her PBs have been set in Japan.
Yeah, interesting. Might have come out of a team there.
You're taking us to Hobart, Leanne, for the Cadbury Marathon. Yep.
Yeah, so for the marathon, Fraser Darcy got the win in 2:26:46. Camille O'Donoghue in 2:54:46. For the half, we had Richie Egan in 69:52, and for the females, Sarah Klein in 77:25, and she got fourth overall.
Thoughts on this event, Moose? It used to be 2:26 is not a bad run on that sort of course, but this used to be fairly well supported back in the day.
This had a glory period though. It wasn't well supported initially in the early days, probably the first 3 to 5 years, and then it started to pop off. especially in the half. Like there were guys running 63 minutes there, 64, 65 winning times. So it definitely went through this growth phase, and all the elites were going there off Falls Creek. They'd drop down, they'd go race. There was some good money. But it does seem like the elite fields aren't really heading there anymore.
I reckon maybe Welshie, because so Sarah finished 4th overall in 77 minutes. So it's and I think, so Russell Chin was 3rd in 73. And so you got basically no runners between 73 and 77 minutes. I got a feeling Richard Welsh ran this event and potentially owned it at one point, and I reckon he got out of it and then focused more on Launceston, Run the Bridge, all of that sort of thing. So maybe the fact that he's not involved with it as much anymore.
I don't know if Welshie's there or not.
Yeah.
But that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Sorry, go,
Leanne.
I was going to say, Welshie also doesn't look after the Tassie Carnivals anymore, and I feel like they flew under the radar at the end of last year.
Yeah. Which, he's obviously, he's done some good things down there.
He's very good at putting together fields.
Yeah, he is. All right, I'm going to take us to Adelaide. So there was an event down there last week called Run the Loop. It's basically, from what I can understand, it's the 10 of Adelaide. So it's a popular 2.2K flat gravel loop that a lot of people do sessions around. And it's the first year that the event's been held, put on by the Adelaide University Athletics Club. Nita sent me through some details. He said it was a pretty good atmosphere and he expects it to get bigger each year. So in terms of the results, John O'Harris, who won the De Castella under 23K at Zatopek, he got the win in 5:59 for the 2.2K. Adrian Potter, AH Elite, was second in 6:01, and Cooper Giles was third in 6:04. In the women's, Caitlin Adams got the win 6:47, beating Amelia Sheridan 6:52, and Hannah Tourneur was third in 7:09. So they're the results for this week, and brought to you by Axel Coffee. To get your exclusive IRP discount, visit axelcoffee.com.au and use the code IRP20 to get 20% off your first order. Shoe review time. Moose, as you said, you interviewed the founder of Ultra last week, and you're going to talk to us about the Ultra Lone Peak. Is it 9+?
Yeah, so the Ultra is a brand out of Utah in the US. You'll hear a lot about Ultra in the interview later on this episode with their founder. I mean, you'll hear the whole founding story, and the Lone Peak has been their most popular trail shoe. Like, this is their biggest shoe in their range in terms of sales, and it's been one of the biggest trail shoes in the world, to be honest. In the US, Ultra is second in trail running, like in terms of the market share. So we don't see a ton of them over here. Like the US, it's very popular. They have some pretty distinct characteristics, and the Lone Peak 9 is what I feel is a classic Ultra shoe. They're all zero pitch, so they have a couple in the lineup now that are a 4mm offset, but the Lone Peak sticks to their sort of tradition of being 0 degrees, so that means there's no ramp in the shoe. There's no heel to toe offset. And you really notice that when you put the shoe on, is your heel just sits back. It's not sitting on a wedge. So essentially, you're in the same position as you are barefoot, except you have cushion under your foot. It also has their original foot shape, which is anatomical fit. So underneath, they call it out on the outer sole. They have like little toes sort of built into the outer sole to make it look like a foot, but it's like the shoe is actually shaped like a foot. So it's really quite wide near in the forefoot, and it narrows down through the heel and the midfoot. The idea being that it promotes foot splay within the shoe. So you're not being compressed, and you can get a really active and highly functioning big toe joint. When you're wearing this shoe, it's not compromised by anything pressing or pressure. The Lone Peak is their middle run trail shoe. So they have the Superior, which is less cushioning. Then they have the the Lone Peak, which is 25 millimeters of cushion, and then they have their Olympus, which is then they have a Timp actually a little bit higher, and then I think it's the Olympus is their highest and stiffest trail model. So this sits in the middle of the rung in terms of its feel. It does have more of a minimalist feel compared to a lot of the shoes on the market now. You'll notice, Leanne will notice running for ASICs that midsole heights are getting bigger and thicker, and the shoes are getting stiffer, and that's the way of the industry. And Ultra sort of provide an option for someone who doesn't want to head down that path. The ninth model, like this is an update from the 8, so it's just the new version, and the plus stands for the Vibram outer sole. So they've always had their I call it like claw, like their own internally developed outer sole on the Lone Peak, but people have been calling out for a better quality outsole, and Vibram, they're like gold class in making rubber. So they made the outsole for this shoe, and you get a stickier traction, but you also get more durable underfoot. It also protects you a little more from stone bruising, and a lot of ultra distance runners like to wear this shoe because of a few things, but one, the toe box shape allows for swelling throughout someone's ultra distance race, but also a lot of hikers wear it, again, because it gives them that foot space. But being zero drop on a trail and having only 25 mil of cushion makes it very stable underfoot. So it's probably the shoe, like you'll notice, you have the least amount of acute ankle rolling because of how low to the ground you are, and it just increases your proprioception. You're able to pick your way down a technical trail a lot more confidently than if you can't really recognize when your foot hits the ground because of just a big thick lump of cushion.
Hey Moose, a question, because I obviously don't really run in trail shoes, but like a zero pitch trail shoe, I'd imagine would put like a little, like it's sort of a bit of a niche shoe in terms of like people would have to progress to something like that with that sort of barefoot feel in a way, with like loads on Achilles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't feel like a barefoot shoe because it still has a lot of cushion and protection underfoot, and you are really locked in. So it's got a really nice heel and midfoot. We had 60 pairs of these for the event we did, and nearly everyone who slipped it on was just amazed at how comfortable it felt straight off because their foot could relax in it. But it wasn't slipping at the heel, and there wasn't movement through near where the midfoot or the arch is either. So it actually provides great lockdown, but your foot does splay up front. And yeah, there'll be a transition if you're coming from a higher pitch shoe to a zero drop shoe. And this has got a bit of flexibility to it. Your calf and Achilles are going to take more load. But I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. They're our springs. The Achilles designed to spring us and absorb shock. So I love the theory. I wish we would all start on minimal shoes when we're young. Like, I wish we could grow up without big heel pitches and without stiffness and plates and everything. And I wish we'd develop more resilience through our lower limb. And that's probably like something I'll take Pia through, is that she's not going to wear chunky shoes. She's going to wear more minimal shoes as she grows up, and maybe she could become stronger when she's older. But yeah, this, like, you do need to be a bit more careful. I think using it on the trail is a little safer because every footstep's different. You're not getting that super repetitive overuse type gait pattern like if you're on the road where the loading's different every single time. So I've always, like, most trail shoes are much lower drop than road shoes anyway. And I actually I've worn a few ultras on the trail, and this one here I didn't have any awareness the next day. I mean, we only ran 5K, but still, I didn't have any awareness the following day of calf complaint. The midsole, although it looks the same as the 8, it actually is a softer midsole. So it's a little bit bouncier. It's a little bit more responsive. You won't bottom it out as much. The upper is made of like a ripstop material, and there's these cool like overlays that won't peel off. because that's one of the things with trails. Stuff just breaks when you're out there and you get sticks pressing it and all this. So it's pretty seamless, the upper, like it feels really comfortable. I'd say that trail runners are a little more dialed in with the minimal type outlook on footwear. So we do see a lot more trail runners in Ultra. It's in our store anyway. But yeah, they're doing good things. And I think as the market gets more flooded with high stack stiff shoes, these guys are going to step up and provide a really good alternative to what, like if you consider being a little more in touch with the ground's a good thing, which I think it probably is.
And how much do they retail for, Moose?
$270, which is pretty good with Vibram, to be honest. A lot of Vibram soles, like the price goes up automatically, like $10-20 or so. So you're going to get a bit longer out of them than the old Lone Peaks. Yeah.
Nice review, mate. That's why you're the resident shoe geek.
Well, a salad, I got to know about it.
Very true.
Look like a Wally if someone came in and they told me about it.
All right, thanks to Ultra. Let's get into listener questions, and we've got a pretty big announcement. So for the rest of 2025, listener questions and training talk segment will be proudly brought to you by Precision Fuel and Hydration. They've been a huge supporter of this show and countless athletes, helping them nail their fueling and hydration strategies for peak performance. Whether it's figuring out how much carbs, sodium, or fluid you need during training and racing, Precision Fuel and Hydration's free online planner makes it easy to get it right. Check out the link in the show notes or our bio for their free tools to book a one-on-one consultation, as well as their online store. Plus, they're offering listeners 15% off your first order with the code INSIDERUN2025. So, good of them to support the show, Moose. I know, I used Precision in my last marathon, and Brady's their pin-up boy, I believe. He's in most of their reads.
Is that right? Yeah, I wonder how that happened. He's organising deals on his own, I reckon.
Because it's like always, Brady swears by the 90-gram pouch in his long runs.
He writes it himself. Could be something for you, though, to jump on board, I reckon, Leanne. Few gels. What do you use?
I use Morton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, definitely going through a lot more gels and drink mixes than I ever have. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to this week's listener question. So, question comes from Dean5 on Instagram. Any benefits in a 3 to 4 day a week runner doing easy runs a bit quicker to get bang for buck? There's a bit in this question, I reckon. In that, let's look at if you're running 3 to 4 times a week. Like, so for example, if you're running 3 times a week, what are you doing? 1 session, 1 long run, and a jog?
I reckon what this question means is you're doing all your easy runs quicker. I think that's what it means.
I reckon it's any benefit in a 3 to 4 day a week runner doing easy runs a bit quicker.
Doesn't say that, does it? No.
So I'm reading it is they run 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My immediate thought was, there's no harm in running your jogs quicker because, you're only running 3 to 4 days a week. But then I thought, then what are those 3 to 4 runs that you are doing? Like, are they sessions? If they're not sessions, then if they are just jogs, then maybe it would be beneficial for them to be sessions. If your goal is to actually get fitter and faster.
So Leanne, let me ask you this then. So let's just say Dean goes out and he's only jogging though. So he's running 4 times a week. Would he get fitter running 4 runs at 165 beats a minute heart rate, or running 4 runs at 130 beats a minute heart rate? What's he?
Yeah, I think one thing that we always talk, like I know I talk about with Aaron a lot, is when people are doing a lot of running at one pace, we say, you're just getting good at running at that pace. Like, I didn't really explain that correctly.
No,
man.
But
Croak's on a long run, 4:10 pace.
4-minute Ks. Just wind me up, 4-minute Ks.
Yeah. But if your goal is to run faster than that, like I can think of a few people that I know that are trying to hit fast marathons, and yes, maybe do sessions, but a lot of their running is just kind of gray zone running, and it's like, well, you're good at running, whatever for them, like you're good at running 4-minute Ks, but what's that really achieving? Just running 4-minute Ks all the time, like it's.
So you think?
But this is a bit, this is a bit different. I'm not.
The adaptions you get aren't happening at that if you continually run the same pace.
Well, yeah. I think I'm talking more if you're always just running the same pace.
Yeah,
you need to be changing pace, but that doesn't really answer this question.
It sort of does.
I think I personally think there's an element of you can probably get away with pushing things a little bit more if you're only running 3 times a week. Like we often bang on about making easy days easy, but we're often sort of referring to people that are running 7 days a week and doing 2 to 3 sessions a week, plus a long run, sometimes doing double. So if you're doing that much running, you need to have super, super easy runs or easy days. Whereas like if I'm running 3 times a week, I'm probably making those 3 runs. Like I'm not going to run 5-minute Ks for one of those runs. Like I don't feel like I need to, because I'm going to be so fresh.
So Croaks, we often get footy players come in the store who are on their pre-season and they only run 3 or 4 times a week, if that, and everything they do is super hard. Like they go out and they bust their ass for 3 runs a week. Do you think that's the best use of that running?
No, I don't, because I think if you're fully I think running solid is different to busting your ass, because if you're busting your ass, you don't get to run long enough to develop an aerobic engine. Yeah. So if you're going out and just killing yourself, you're probably only running 15, 20 minutes. Whereas you can still run a solid run, but you need to be out there for 45. You're going to get fitter if you can run 45 minutes at a slightly slower pace. That's still not probably like a walk or a shuffle, but you can at least get through 45 minutes comfortably.
Well, the next question is he looking to increase his mileage? He can still stay at 3-4 days a week, but increase your mileage, which means that each of those runs gets longer, basically. Yeah. And if he is thinking that, then he probably needs to slow his runs down and not do them too quick. Because I'm in my position now, like I'm probably running too fast based on my average heart rate. And I'm running this morning at 5-minute 10 pace up a hill, only a light hill, and my heart rate's at 160. And in my head, I'm like, this is great. I'm burning a lot of calories here. Like I'm out here for exercise right now. This is good. My heart rate's beating more. I'm collecting more heart rates on this run. It's only 30-minute run, so I don't really I'm not having to recover from anything yesterday, and I'm not preparing for anything tomorrow. It's okay. The stress on the body is very low, because if you think I could jump on an exercise bike and I could go 7 days of workouts at high intensity, and that's not really going to wear you down too much because the impact's so low. Yeah. And just like me running up a hill at 5:10, the impact's so low, it's kind of like being on an exercise bike or something on the legs. So I think it's good for if you're not trying to progress your running. I think it's good like that.
And I guess the other problem is, like most runners, that if we coach somebody who only runs 3 to 4 times a week, it's often the strength that's lacking because they're not running enough miles. And so for them, if you're only running 3 to 4 times a week, you probably do need one run that is substantially longer, or you need a long run in there, and you can't be forcing the long run because you're probably not fit enough to be able to run hard for an hour and a half, because you don't have that strength behind you because you're only running 3 times a week.
Nearly everyone I talk to, those footy players who do get told to slow down and decide to slow down, they just enjoy it so much more. Like they actually start loving their running, whereas they kind of dread it when they're just running fast all the time.
I don't know if we really answered that, because there's probably a lot of variables there, not really knowing the specifics of what they're training for, how long their long run is. But I still think if you're only running 3 to 4 times a week, you probably want to try and, in a way, get through as much volume as you can in those 3 to 4 days just from a strength, like from an aerobic point of view, you're going to be a better runner than focusing purely on sort of hard speed work.
Well, I mean, to go a bit further with the answering, I would still aim for Dean to polarize the training. And I'd go, just because you run 3 times a week doesn't mean you can't do a variety of runs within that 3 days.
Yeah.
Leanne's answer that I spun as my own.
Yeah. So if I had 4 runs a week, I'd probably have somebody do a proper interval session for one of the runs. I would probably have a run with a bit of a surge in the middle as like a bit of a steady state, a longer run, and a very easy run. That would probably be my 4 runs for the week.
Yeah.
So 1.5 sessions, a long run, and a jog.
It's hard to get the strength, the foundation to benefit heaps from those intervals if you don't have much like aerobic running behind you, eh?
Yeah.
Tough though. Tough if you want to train for a longer distance. Like 800-meter runners train like that.
Yeah. Sprinters.
Hit the gym every other day.
Oh yeah, plyos. You could do those workouts like I do to get the heart rate up.
Anyway, thanks again to Precision Fuel and Hydration. Just a reminder, listeners can get 15% off their first order with the code INSIDERUN2025. Whispers. I believe Brady has inserted a few whispers here. So
I thought that was Leanne that wrote these in.
No, I'm not going to throw Leanne under the bus here. Yeah, well, he's put them in here, so I'm going to read them out, and he can cut them if he doesn't like them. But keep a watch on Nat Rule, hearing whispers of a change of training group. So remember Nat, she's run 15:03 for the 5K. So that's one whisper. Another one.
Who's she with now? MTC still?
Well, she was with MTC, I'm pretty sure. Or was she with Tim O'Shaughnessy?
Same thing.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Liam Buden potentially running Seville Marathon. And I'm not sure this is really a whisper because the fields have been released, I think, for Boston. So Pat Tiernan's doing Boston. Which is good. We don't have many Aussies do Boston in the past. I'm trying to think the last Aussie to do Boston. I remember Jeff Hunt went over there a few times back in 2013. Troopy would have done it a few times living over there.
He did it, but I don't think he did it when he was fit.
I know Jeff Hunt did it the year the Boston bombings were on.
Oh, yeah, shit. Well, Jared McMullen, a guy I run with, he was there for that.
Because that was 2 weeks before my about 2 to 3 weeks before my debut in Japan. And it's like, obviously Nagano is not the same as Boston, but sort of like, shit, like bombs going off at these marathons. Yeah. It's a bit scary.
Very scary.
All right, Moose on the Loose. Purchase of the week, rules of Strava.
Well, I'm going to use someone else's little rant. I'm going to use it as my own. So it was during the Valencia 10K at the very end, actually. And they highlighted, the cameras went to an athlete on there. His name is Ilias FIFA. Have you heard of him, Leanne?
No.
Folks, you know this bloke?
No.
Well, in 2017, I believe he might have run 13:05 perhaps. But he was also busted with EPO, anabolic steroids, syringes, all this sort of stuff, right? So he's a Moroccan who became citizen of Spain. So he got done 4 years or so it was. Pretty much, I think he even got found he was selling them to other people maybe. But he is like total doper. He's obviously served his ban and he's come back and he is now he broke the Spanish record at the Valencia 10K. And so they made a big hoo-ha at the very end because it's a Spanish race and he's now the new record holder. So is this a case, Croaks, of do your time and then you're back out rehabilitated and like everyone gets a second chance, we should celebrate him again? What about you? I'm interested in both of your opinions here.
I don't know. Like, I think I would like to think that if somebody had been on drugs and got busted being on drugs, that when they come back, they're not running faster or doing incredible things compared to what they were doing previously. You'd think that if you're on drugs and you're doing this, if you're off drugs, you're probably not going to be performing quite as well.
Leanne, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't thrill me to see a convicted doper then coming back and breaking a record and running. Yeah. And I guess that's a little bit like with the Shelby Houlihan. Now her ban is done and she's coming back. She said she's coming back. But to me, it's also what is the testing protocols while they're on their bans? Is there one?
Very good.
Yeah.
Because what's stopping them from just
doubling down during that 4 years?
Yeah, especially when, for some, the reason, well, not the reason they dope, but, they dope to run, to get money, and that's really their main goal and don't really care about the rest. But, yeah, so I don't know how, I'm not sure I really get excited when I see.
No.
There's always going to be, I would feel embarrassed competing again because it doesn't matter what I do, people are always going to have that thought about you. And I'd struggle to go back out there and show my face. But also there's that, belief, and it's probably proven that, if you've been on drugs previously, your body then adapts and you get these improvements, which probably last well past that period that you're on drugs. And so
that's right. That's the thing. It's not the same as someone who burgles a house and then goes to jail for 4 years and comes out and gets a new job and does well for himself. Like everything that this guy took for however long he was taking it produced a different body than he had going into it, and all of those effects remain. And they remain, like whether it was him being able to run 220k a week for 4 years straight that produced some sort of amazing aerobic fucking engine, or it was all the HGH he was taking that just developed all this musculus, like that he got super strong, tons of muscle mass, recovering super quick. That's there for life now. Well, maybe not life, but it's there for enough time where he benefits from it.
Yeah.
And drug it, like someone who takes drugs, you would imagine you imagine that deep in their heart they know they can't do it without cheating, and so for them to have another try at it, it's like it would be an automatic thing to go back to cheating again. You would think, given that they already knew at the first time that they needed to cheat to compete.
Yeah.
So you're really suspicious the second time round. Really suspicious.
100%. Good one, Moose. I like that.
Well, I won't say his name because he probably, but it was a good call from him in the group chat.
Did you read it out? What he said?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll read it out. Get this fucking dirtbag off the screen. Ilias FIFA, new Spanish record, has been busted for doping and then for supplying EPO and HGH to athletes. He's back and breaking records now. Scumbag. Whoa, heated.
Yeah. All right, we're drawing to a close on this week's show. What's coming up? So we've got the Houston Half Marathon and Marathon next weekend. So from an Aussie point of view, we got Morgan McDonald and Pat Tiernan, Lauren Ryan in the women. So that's for the half marathon. Do we see an Aussie record go down, Moose?
No, we don't.
Close?
No, maybe 30 seconds and a minute off. Tiernan over McDonald here.
Okay.
A lot of hype on McDonald. I'm not totally there for it. Like, I need to see something first before we start talking Oz records.
Hey, beat Grant Fisher.
Yeah, beat Grant Fisher. Yeah, good. But I'm saying no Australian records, and I'm not seeing anyone under 60. That's for sure.
Any based on what you saw at Zatopek, Leanne? Any prediction for Leanne for Lauren?
I mean, I think she'll run. I mean, obviously her first half marathon was the Healy one a couple months ago, 71 minutes. Yeah, I think she'll smash that. If you think of what a 10K is, and she sounds pretty confident. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty quick. I don't know what. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
I don't really have a prediction.
Is Shelby Houlihan running this one as well?
Oh, is she? I don't know.
I thought that was like announced. Do you remember that, Moose? That there was talk that she was going to do, and she wanted like 66 minutes.
I don't know what half it was.
I thought it was Houston.
Yeah, it could have been. I knew it was a big one.
I guess watch this space. We'll see if she's in the results come. I guess it'll be early Monday morning our time. I believe the men's race has been set up for sort of US record pace, which is obviously sub 60. And outside of that, I'm interviewing Andre Lagersh actually later this week, Moose.
Ran with him on Sunday actually.
Yeah, been meaning to do it. So Andre is my cardiologist. So been meaning to do this for a long time. So we'll chat about his own running because he's pretty handy athlete himself, and all things heart health for distance runners.
He will tell you about this Jungfrau marathon. He tells us every single Sunday we get the full story. 20 minutes every single time.
That thing's brutal. I remember I was traveling through Europe in 2003. It was just after the Paris World Championships, and we're in Interlaken, and this fun run or this race starts running through town. We're like, what's that? Found out later that, it was the Jungfrau marathon.
Oh, yeah. Solid.
So, you have to listen to that one, Leanne. Giving your heart scare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and reach out to him if you're having any more issues.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, but thanks again for giving up close to 2 hours tonight. Really appreciate it. I know it's your partner's birthday today, so so thank you for pulling yourself away from him for 2 hours.
That's right.
Happy birthday to Aaron.
Yeah,
I'll let him know.
Leanne. Good on you. And taking his headphones too. Jeez.
Yeah, that's it.
So when do you head down from the mountains?
Another week here, so next Monday the 20th. Yep.
Okay, and so this week, this week you don't have to do a long marathon session, so that probably works okay up there.
Yeah. I'll get through this week.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be not so grumpy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all the best for the remaining weeks.
Thanks.
We'll have to get you on either just before or just after the race for a bit of a recap.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Very good. And Moose, I'll chat to you next week. The boss will be back from his vacation. Yep.
Yeah. No. Well, he just a little bit of time off for him. He's probably listening in the background this whole show, I reckon.
Yeah. I reckon I think I'm due for some annual leave, Moose.
I'll take a week off too.
Mate, you're always off. Bloody month off. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thanks again, Leanne, and
thank you.
Do it all again next week. Ciao.
See ya.
Okay, this week on the Inside Running podcast, we have a really exciting guest. I'm here in my house in person, joined by Brian Beckstead from Ultra Running. Welcome, Brian.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So, Brian, you are quite easily Googleable. So I had a little bit of a look, but I'd really like you to introduce yourself as you would, if that's okay. So, firstly, where have you travelled from today, and who do you represent? What's your role at Ultra Running?
Yeah, Brian Beckstead. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Orem, Utah, in the States, there in the Rocky Mountains. Flew over 2 days ago from there to Melbourne, and just been traveling around, so trying to get over the jet lag. But I represent Ultra. I'm one of the founders of Ultra, and currently sit on the board on the leadership team there, and then I get to travel and kind of just promote the brand, tell our story, and just kind of nerd out on shoes, on running, and just I love being adventurous as well. So I do lots of different backpacking and fishing, and I just love being on the go and using human movement and hopefully inspiring people to buy a few shoes and just to get out and enjoy nature and to move naturally.
All right, cool. So before we go further, we need to clear something up. Ultra or Ultra?
I don't. It's kind of a potato type of thing. Vibram, whatever you're into. I pronounce it ultra.
Ultra. Okay.
But ultra is fine too.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I've been struggling all day. I keep saying Geelong, and apparently it's Geelong.
Yeah.
So sometimes the pronunciation's different, and that's okay.
Yeah. All right. So, good. Well, I mean, I'm happy with ultra.
You can say ultra. I don't mind. Doesn't offend me.
Ultra. Sometimes in the store that I work in, we'll call it ultra, and people confuse it with ultra running.
Ultra, yeah.
And they're like, oh, the ultra shoes. They're for going long distance.
That does get mixed up regularly. So.
How are you finding Victoria?
Oh, it's lovely. I mean, I've got a foot of snow at my house right now. So coming out and getting some sunlight and some warm weather, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Cool.
No.
So. Can you give us a little bit of not a little bit, I want to hear the founding story of Ultra. Because I've read about it. I read about it in a book, Kixology, I think it was the book. And I loved hearing the story. And on the floor, I still give a 20 to 30 second spiel about how the brand started, because I think it's super romantic how you guys began. And all the customers have heard it who've come in. Yeah. But I'd love to hear it from your own voice.
Yeah. I won't try to make it too long. I try to give you the shorter version of it, but I think it boils down to we came from a running store, and what I've really appreciated about the couple running companies that I've gone to is the sit and fit process that you guys have, and we had something very similar, right? It was very much like you sit in front of the customer, you're looking them in the eye, you're helping them lace the shoe, and you're really getting into the details of what they want and need, and that's where we came from. The store is called Runner's Corner. It's in Orem, Utah. It's literally 2 blocks from where I was born and raised. My parents still live right there. So my parents have been there 45 years at that house. And Runner's Corner's right there. And so I started working there in 1998. The owner's name's Hawk and Cheryl, husband and wife. And their son Golden and I became very good friends. We met the first day of high school at cross-country practice in 1997. I began working there about a year later. I'm 16 years old, just kind of a little cross-country track shoe nerd.
Yeah.
And, Golden was an incredible runner, and I was able to learn a lot from him in the running world. Obviously, getting the job at Runner's Corner was fun, and, we just kind of started working, becoming shoe nerds. From there, went to university, ended up, Golden and I started managing the store, and very much in that sit and fit process, very much quite unique. And what really I think set Runner's Corner apart was our emphasis on biomechanics and running technique. At the time, the industry was very focused on pronation, and that's about it. Where we were really focused on the full body, right? The arms, the posture, your cadence, things like that. And so we really had an emphasis there. We were not fans of pronation motion control shoes. And which was kind of against the industry grain, and
back then for sure,
definitely back in this was mostly this was the 2000s, late 90s,
the Brooks
and
Beast
2000s. Oh, we didn't carry the Brooks Beast.
Yeah.
No way. There was no way we wouldn't sell anybody that. We did a lot of Brooks Dyad, and a couple things that I really liked about a shoe like that was it had a much wider foundation. You weren't using posting for support; you were using a wider base. And so that's what in constant ground contact, there's a lot of cutout underneath the arch in a lot of brands. And that Brooks Dyad was actually a great shoe. Those original Dyad 1, Dyad 2, and all that. So we sold a lot of those.
Not existing anymore.
I know. I know. But we carried over. I wouldn't say, we copied it, but if you look like a Paradigm today, you have that constant ground contact. You have a really wide flared base. You've seen a lot of brands are doing. Hoka's kind of pioneered a lot of that as well. But I think the Dyad or the ASICS Fortitude was another model we sold
good
lot, really good shoes. And so anyway, we could talk
Let's really
fanning
story.
I know I've already talked about other brands here. What am I doing? But we were definitely against the grain. We were kind of odd and quirky. I think we still kind of are as individuals, but that was kind of the foundation there. And so when we really started honing in on biomechanics, we also started researching how footwear affects your biomechanics. And we kind of stumbled upon some really interesting things. This was pre, the minimalist barefoot movement at the time. Yet we would finish most of our runs barefoot on grass, doing strides, doing warm-ups and cool-downs. We would run on grass And we loved watching people run on grass barefoot. And we were like, oh man, you run amazing. And as soon as you'd put a pair of shoes on them on concrete, their biomechanics would change. And so that led to kind of that curiosity in that space. Golden one day, just after graduating college, got a pair of shoes and said, just looked at them and said, what if I just took out that elevated heel, right? And that kind of led to us hacking off the heels, putting them in toaster ovens. People talk about the toaster oven story. We used to take bandsaws, we'd bandsaw up to the forefoot and then belt sand the heel down and glue it back on. And we started kind of experimenting on the shoes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we would lace the shoes very differently. People would come in and say, I'm a US 8, and we just put them in a US 9. And then we'd skip the lacing around the toe to try to create more space. So we were very much about toe space. The diet and the fortitude, we didn't carry it in regular width. We carried it in 2E and 4E, right? We were all about getting more space in the forefoot. And that happened first, the space in the forefoot. And then that hacking off the heel was secondary.
Yes.
And our initial goal was, we were in our 20s. We just graduated university. We were managing, retail stores. And, we didn't have any plans to start a shoe company. However, our goal was to get the shoe companies to build us the shoe we wanted. So we started working with our sales reps, and then our sales reps would set us up with the shoe designers and stuff like that, and we would pitch them our concept. Yeah. We'd show them our research. We'd show them the video analysis, the slow motion video analysis that we were just coming out in the late 2008, 2009, and they kind of just some of the brands were nice, some of them were just they were dicks, man. We just were not. They were just not great to us. And so, one thing led to another. Jeremy Hallett, who's the third founder that I don't think gets talked about enough, kind of came along. I was like, well, what if we do it ourselves? Yeah. And so Jeremy was able to find a group up in Portland, Oregon, that was able to kind of give us a quote on advanced prototyping. We were able to get really the fourth founder, I guess, if there was, his name Joe Morton. He was our angel investor, was a 9-time Ironman, and I was his son's scoutmaster. I was big in the scouting program back in the day, and he became connected with us, and he ended up giving us our initial funding, and that was September of 2009.
And so, what does that look like when you're trying to build a shoe? Like, are we talking?
It was ugly.
6 figures.
It was really ugly. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
But, no, if you, it took us over $200,000 to get our first 3 prototypes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In terms of, you got to get CAD designs. Yeah. So you got to first of all get a piece of paper and draw it out, and then you got to put it on CAD, and then you've got to get a factory to create molds. And then those molds, you got to get the time and the energy to so it is not to launch a shoe brand. You can't launch a shoe brand for under $1 million.
And that's
that's one model.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. So the barrier to entry is pretty substantial.
So you got to be pretty committed. Like, you can't just half-ass it.
No,
like, you got to go all in on that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a commitment. Yeah. And I don't know. We joke about it sometimes when Jeremy and Golden have talked and by about kind of our stress levels, and some of us were more stressed than others. I was not, for some reason. I was not overly stressed. I just was. I just knew it was weird, like just feeling like I was doing the right thing. Like, this is what I was like almost called to do it. I don't know if that's the right destiny. I don't know all that shit, but like I just felt like we were doing something really special, and I didn't have as much fear as I probably should have looking back on it in terms of starting it. But the barrier entry is very high for footwear. It cost us to launch the brand with one model, which by the way was a road model. A lot of people think it was we're a trail brand. No, our first model. I mean, we were almost $1 million in debt just to get to market with. The first production run. That included the first production run.
And what was what came out of that first production run? Like,
we had a shoe called the Instinct.
It
was a road shoe. Okay. And it's a great shoe.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing now is the Escalante. It's probably the closest thing we make. Quite similar.
And taking it from those prototypes to the first model production, do you take orders? Do you go to companies or brands, or how do you go about getting that on the market?
Yeah, so we we basically pooled all of our money and went down to the running event in, there's a great picture, I'll have to send it to you, but 2010, in November of 2010, we went to the running event, and our angel investor, Joe, basically was like, hey, like, if you get orders, I'll put a production run in.
Okay.
And so we went down there. We were like basically a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Like we were like, we had these prototypes that we just like, I mortgaged my dad's house for. We were like, at that point we were over $500,000 in debt. Like, I mean, it was like, and we were begging retailers to give us orders at the running event, at the trade show at this expo center. And so we got 16 orders at that trade show. Yeah. And then we went to another trade show in January of 2011 called Outdoor Retailer, which was in Utah, very close to our home. And we got another bunch of orders there, and we ended up launching with 34 accounts in April of 2011.
Just independents?
Yeah, almost all of them were independents.
Yeah.
Primarily. Yeah, cool. We didn't get any national chains. We had a couple of some of the larger running websites to bring us in, but primarily it was just independent, small mom and pa's.
And when you when you were selling the shoe in, I guess, to these or selling the shoe to the buyers or the stores, was it the three, like, what were the principles? How were you selling the shoe? Like, what was hooking them in?
I think at the time, Born to Run came out in 2010, and so the minimalist craze was in full swing.
What year was this, though?
We launched in 2011.
Okay.
So we started in 2009, and then after we started it like, the minimalist craze hadn't really happened yet. And funny enough, a little side story, Vibram, the Five Fingers, launched in, I think it was 2005 or 2006, and they showed it for the first time at Outdoor Retailer in Salt Lake City, Utah, as a boat shoe. All the marketing was boats. And when Golden and I went to that expo, we saw it. We're like, this would be awesome to carry at our running store. And we went and started talking to the people at Vibram, and we said, hey, can we order some of these shoes? When does it come out? How many do we need to order? We want to order it in. And they looked at us like we were crazy. We were the first running store in the world to carry Vibram Five Fingers. But we didn't use Vibram as an end-all. For us, it was a training tool. Any Vibram that we sold at the time before launching Ultra, it was a secondary shoe. It was an add-on. It was a training tool. It was, hey, do this to help strengthen your feet. And so for us, it was, hey, we don't need to sell two pair of shoes. We're going to get the benefits of a Five Finger with the benefits of a traditional footwear. And that's kind of how we sold it to people. Improved biomechanics. You're going to heel strike less. You're going to let those toes splay. You're going to be naturally aligned. I mean, if nature wanted us with an elevated heel, why weren't we born with that? I mean, this is when you get out of bed every morning. This is the alignment by which we get out of bed. Why do all these shoes narrow that toe box and raise up the elevated heel? And so we kind of pitched it that way, and I think we still have that very similar pitch there to this day, that this is how nature intended us to be. This is how our back and our knees and our legs are naturally aligned, and that's kind of how we pitched it. Cool. So, and
that's like at the time, independent stores would have just started to get that demand for minimal. Like I remember I was working in one at the time, 2011, and the customers had just read the book. They're like, I want to change. I want to do something different. I want to wear less shoe. So that would have been a good time to get in.
It was incredibly, I don't know if luck was, whatever it was. We timed it just right. I mean, it wasn't purposefully that way, and the whole time we couldn't get funding, to be honest. And so our angel investor was like, I don't have that much more money. I can't dump in. He was, so we were really struggling to get funding because we had the prototypes, and we just couldn't get that next big round of funding that we needed. And so he was willing to put in a little bit more. And so we were dying because all these people, the Vibrams, were just going crazy. And we were like, no, we're like yes and no. Like, yes, it's great to have foot strengthening and all that, but no, that's not the end all be all. It's a training tool, right? Not the end. We thought we had that perfect middle ground. So we were dying. In 2010 and 2011, it was just like eating us up. Like, oh my gosh, like, why can't we need funding? We need funding. And so we finally got some big funding in 2011, and that was able to help us launch the Lone Peak, which is, and that came out in October of 2011 was when the Lone Peak came out. And then from there, it just, started going, and now we've got all sorts of models, and
Yeah, you do. You have quite a big range, actually. Most people would be surprised to learn how big your range is.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we're guilty of it ourselves, is not carrying a full range of Ultra in the store, but you do have some very sort of niche models. Not niche, but specific type models.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I remember when we first saw the shoes in Australia, the distributor at the time was a different type of character.
Yep.
So he came in wearing like a Superman suit or something. But we were like, what we were looking for at the time matched what you were sort of selling. Is a barefoot shoe with some cushion. Not a barefoot shoe, but a minimal shoe with cushioning, because that was the thing that people would complain about, is that they like the width, they like to be in a minimal shoe, but they wanted something a bit softer for the surfaces they were running on.
Yeah. Well, and the original instinct, the original Lone Peak, at the time, stack heights have gone up, but the forefoot then and now isn't any different than the rest of the industry. We don't have less cushioning in the forefoot. Our shoes just level, they're balanced, they're naturally aligned, right? And so, we've kind of been a little picky that, like, we're not a minimalist brand. Like, we're not. Like, we have plenty of cushioning. It's not about minimalism. For us, it's about natural alignment. Yeah. And that's what we feel like we excel at. Yeah,
okay. So early on in those sort of maybe first 5-6 years that you were existing or growing, were there any sort of decisions that you look back on and go, that made us, like, this was so important to the growth of Ultra that you had to make at the time?
I think some of those pivotal moments, I can tell you about a bunch of mistakes we made too.
I want to hear them too.
God, I would say our initial growth was great. And I think the company that kind of acquired us in the early days, they were somewhat hands off, but they were about making money, and so they said, "Hey, look, we're going to go find you a real factory," and they went and found a pretty cheap factory. And so, kind of the year 3, year 4 was a struggle, because we had some pretty serious quality issues as we tried to update these awesome models. We probably we went to a factory partner that was very poor. Yeah. And so that was one of the biggest mistakes we made. I mean, we complain about quality issues in footwear, and it's a big complaint, and I totally get why consumers, if you're going to spend that amount of money, you want it to last. And it really ate me up inside that we had that quality issues year 3, year 4. I mean, just to this day, I just get churn in my stomach that we ended up with that factory group, because that was hard. Yeah. And I think that we were able to find another factory group that we're still with today. We're only in 2 factories right now. Yeah. We've kind of gone to all these different factories, and we've narrowed it down to 2. And this one factory we have been in since 2014. Yeah. And that factory, I think, was a pivotal moment where we had this cheaper factory, and then we went to this other quality factory, and that quality factory has been a partner of ours for 12 years now. Yeah. And that was crucial for us to work with them. Yeah. And I think that of all the shoes that we screwed up or didn't screw up, the one shoe that we've never screwed up is the Lone Peak. And I think that's part of the reason it has such a huge following, because you update these shoes, and you think you update them appropriately, and you make mistakes. We've made a lot of mistakes. And I would say that the other win that we did was the Torin. We've had some really winning products, and I think the Torin was that next, we launched it, and it was a great shoe, and it's continued to be a great shoe. And then after that, the Instinct, we had a lot of quality issues. We made a bunch of mistakes on that, and the shoe that kind of replaced that is the Escalante. Yeah. And so as we've kind of framed out the product line, those are some of those winning products that I'm really glad that we built, and that we pioneered, that we've stuck with, and ultimately that people have had good experiences on those shoes, and they've continued to buy them and have confidence in us.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a Torin. I can't remember what number. Maybe the 4 or 4.5.
4.5 plush. That was the best Torin.
That's the one. The plush.
So good.
The plush.
Oh,
yeah.
The Torin 4.5 plush. That was the best.
Red with a black sole.
Yeah, we had it was great. We had this gray on gray version as well that I loved. I'd wear it casually and whatnot. Yeah. I will just like a shameless plug here. We're launching the Torin 8 next month.
Okay.
Dude, it's the closest thing to that. Like it's the Torin 5 we had some issues. Torin 6, Torin 7 was solid. But this new Torin 8 we're launching, it's the best Torin we've had in a long time. But that 4.5 was money. I think
first.
it's great.
I think it was the first ultra refill we ever did on that shoe. We're like, what's happening here? This is going well.
Yeah, that was a great shoe.
Yeah, that was. So what, like you mentioned the factory that was a little cheaper, and then you found your right factory. Were there any type of specific product decisions that were made that didn't work out for you?
You know, we did a smart shoe. Did you ever hear about this? We did like a computer chip in a shoe.
Nah, that never came in.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it didn't make it down south. But it was called the IQ. And we wasted, years of R&D on that. That was another terrible mistake. So, conceptually, it was actually a really cool concept. It was, but we just had a lot of issues with the chip. And you had an app, right? And it would so conceptually, it was awesome. Theoretically, we just couldn't get it in reality.
Yeah.
And I think we wasted a bit of time in R&D on that. And I think so. That was something we totally made a mistake on.
Yeah.
We also used to do Varus wedges.
Oh yeah.
In our stability shoes, the original provision. We had another shoe called the Repetition that was a terrible shoe. We got to talk about better shoes because we're talking about bad stuff.
Can I just ask you about that though?
It's
because a Varus wedge seems to go against kind of the principle of the brand a little. Mm-hmm. How did that find its way into the range?
Well, it was a flexible Varus wedge. So it was quite unique. Most Varus wedges are going to be stiff and rigid, and so this was kind of an insert that you could slip inside the shoe. So it was a removable, flexible Varus wedge, and pretty minimal, only a couple millimeter offset.
Yeah.
And so we look at for us, engaging the big toe is crucial for us, both outwards and also upwards. You can still do this to this day. You can put a wedge over on your big toe. If you have space in an ultra to push it out, if you also push it up, it locks those bones. So you're going to get inherent stability by engaging that big toe either out, which is what all ultras do, or up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The brand grew, from my perspective, grew big in the trail world.
Correct. Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
I ultimately think trail runners are just going to be more open to trying something new and different. I also think that the trail running space was totally underrepresented and undersaturated back in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's a different world now in 2025.
Yeah.
Right. The difference between trail running models and options and technologies in 2015 versus 2025, it's a totally different world, right? And we were one of those pioneers that was willing to commit to the trail world.
Yeah.
And we committed in terms of athletes, we committed in terms of races. We were, when Montreal kind of was crashing and burning, and I actually ran in Montreal for a long time.
I ran in too.
It's sad that they died. We picked up Western States really early for 4 years, and then lost that to Hoka. But we really committed to trail, and it built around the Lone Peak. And then from there, it's like, well, okay, you want more cushion? Well, we've got the Olympus. You want less cushion? We got the Superior. You want in the middle? You've got the Timp.
Yep.
And I think our trail line was all of them are 4 millimeters different, right? 21, 25, 29, 33. The Lone Peak and the Olympus are on the roomier OG last. The Timp and the Superior are going to be on the more standard, a little bit, not narrow, but just not quite as roomy. And so I think we set up that trail line really well.
Yeah.
And they're functional. They make sense. There's enough differentiation. And so I think it was just kind of a culmination that we had a great trail line. We were early in terms of supporting the trail community. And trail runners are just much more open to try something new. Road runners, it's like, got to do my kilometers in this pace. Well, trail runners are much more like, hey, I want to try something new. And let's go do an ultra. Let's adventure. And so I think that was just kind of a culmination. It was a great thing that happened.
And was it the Lone Peak? Was that the biggest, like the most amount of feet at Western States for a few years? Is that? Can you confirm that?
So, ultra. No, I think it might have been. We've been kind of the number 2 brand at Western States for a long, long time.
Right, okay.
I'm trying to remember if there's a year where Ultra was the number 1 brand worn at Western States.
I've been spending years saying they have been. So
I'll take it.
No one's fact checked me in the store
before. I will say the one community that was the I mean, the trail running was focused. That was purposeful. Like, we spent money and time and energy on trail running product and events and advertising. But the community that has accepted us and embraced us, to my surprise, more than any others, is the hiking community. The through hiking particularly. So like on the Appalachian Trail, these long distance through trails, particularly in America, but across the world, we are being adopted just massively. And the longer you're on the shoe, the more that toe box benefits. Like you really feel it when you've been in that shoe for a long period of time, that toe space that we have in our foot shaped toe box. So that has been a happy accident. But
we see that in our store. We see in our walk store. We have a little walking store, and that there's a lot of hikers come through that are only interested in that in your brand.
Which is great.
Probably one of my most favorite pieces of marketing from any brand is their foot inside their shoe box that gets x-rayed from the top.
Yeah, I know.
If I had that, I would put that up in my store.
Really? Oh, yeah. We should get. We use that image for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
and it's kind of evolved a little bit.
Has it? Yeah. No, that was who came up with that?
We did that like right at year 2.
Really?
I think it was Jeremy. So Jeremy did more of the e-com and the marketing.
Yeah,
and it was.
Is that an actual X-ray or is that an image?
No, it's a full-on X-ray.
Yeah, right.
Like we found like a friend who was like at a chiropractic clinic with an X-ray machine. Yeah. And we went in and it was a I don't know. Can I say this? It was a GT 2000.
Was it really? Yeah.
Versus the Ultra Instinct.
Was it?
And
5 sizes too small in the GT?
No, it was legit. No, like it was not a. That is not a. There was no touch-ups. That was not a.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's a great image. Yeah, I still use that image in my presentations when I can, because it's a great. It just tells that story so well.
You know what you should do, and you did do it really well for a while, is you have it on the shoe boxes. So when we open a shoe box, we do it in front of the customer. It's the first thing they see, and it saves us explaining why the shoe looks like it does. You're like, see that? That's why the shoe looks like that.
So you want us to bring back the education on the shoe lids.
I mean, people trust staff in store, but if you can have it there, it's just the perfect visual representation of why they're putting that shoe on. Or even a little card in the store. Like I don't mind that. I think people when they get home they can remind themselves or read it.
I like it. I like that suggestion. I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I want to bring it back too. Let's do it.
You've become more mainstream lately, like we see Ultra is known.
Yes.
I think a lot of people have heard of the brand when they come in now. Do you have figures on that? What is it, recognizability, or do you have?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a great quantifiable number there. I mean, I think in the U.S. now, we're the 8th largest running shoe brand in the U.S. and we're gaining very quickly on a couple brands in front of us too. Yeah. So. Trail running, in the U.S., we're back and forth. We're either one, depending on the month, we're the first number 1 or number 2 trail running brand at specialty in America. At UTMB, we're number 3 on the shoe list. Western states were historically been number 2.
Yeah.
I think there might have been a year or two. I should look back. We might have been number 1 at one point in time, but for a year or two there. But that was like 2015
I reckon you were
15 or 16. I think we were.
I remember that.
I should remember that. I don't know why I don't remember the firm date on that. But yeah, with UTMB, we've been 3rd for the last couple of years on that UTMB list, and so we're number 1 on all the through hiking trails, and so we definitely have, and that's our goal, right? Is we don't feel like our technology is a niche technology. We believe that this is how humans are meant to be aligned. We feel like this is mainstream technology, and there are people who struggle either conceptually or literally physically with zero drop, right? If you have really low ankle mobility, you're going to struggle with it. And that's why we have 4mm drop options now, right? If you still love our zero drop options, we got a whole great line of zero drop, but we now have 4 models that do have 4mm drop. And keeping in mind that the industry historically, and this has been lowered, I think because of Ultra, but historically pretty much every brand used to be 12.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of brands now are kind of 6 to 10. And so us coming out with the 4mm drop, it's kind of just meeting consumers with where they're at, while also creating either an end result for someone with low ankle mobility, or helping them transition to zero drop if that's their choice.
Did you, in the early days, did you have multiple inner soles at one point?
Yeah, a couple models we did. Yeah, a couple models.
So one
that was like
pitched and
really early. Yeah, so we had it was a 1 millimeter offset, so it just had more arch sculpting. So it was like a 5. It was more of a volume thing. So we had like a 5 millimeter standard insole. That you find with a 1 millimeter lily, which is nominal built into that. Or we had a 3 millimeter insole, but that was like way back. We got the 2 insoles got really confusing, and that did not last very long. The only one that it stayed in was the Superior, where we had that optional rock plate.
Oh yeah.
We had that removable stone guard, and we've taken that out because if people want that little that little stack height, they probably don't need or want a stone guard. So we ended up taking that out too. So none of our models at this point have 2 insoles, but we've tried a bunch of different fun things like that at the time. Various times.
So on that sort of innovation side of things, do you have a system within Ultra or a process that tries to inspire these innovations?
Yeah, we've got an innovation team. We have a full-time biomechanist now, master's graduate biomechanist who looks at how the shoes are affected in terms of both a human body's biomechanics as well as the energy return levels of one midsole foam to another midsole. We've got Steve Shorten is our kind of innovative designer developer as well, that really works on some of those niche and some of those really technical products, a lot of the Vanish Carbon and the Mont Blanc Carbon and things like that. And different advanced concepts, many of which haven't made it to the market, right? So we absolutely have a team and focus in terms of innovation.
Can I just say, and Levi would be sick of me telling him this, the Mont Blanc is probably the best midsole that I've ever put on my foot. In terms of the cushion, like the foam that's being used, the Vibram outer sole, the geometry of it, it's almost the perfect midsole. Any chance we can get a different heel cup upper on that shoe? Because that would be our biggest selling trail shoe, no doubt, if you could bring that out. Yeah.
Well, I think we've kind of moved past the Mont Blanc, and the Mont Blanc has definitely become the Carbon.
Yeah.
Right, and so we only have the Mont Blanc Carbon, and the heel fit I think is way better on the Carbon version than the regular Mont Blanc. And yes, we are coming out with a Mont Blanc Speed, it's non-carbon version this year.
There we go.
And then also I think the Timp has kind of slid in there. We added Vibram to the Timp and tried to make that a little bit more substantial. So that original Mont Blanc was so good, but that heel slip was just kind of an oops. But
underneath, it was.
I do think you're gonna the Mont Blanc Speed that comes out later this year. I think I'm really interested to get your take. Levi, write this down. We need to get this guy Mont Blanc Speed here when it comes out here in a little while later this year. So, because I agree, I love the Lone Peak, but when I want just a little bit more oomph, whether it be both cushion and just energy return, I go to the Mont Blanc. And I didn't like the Mont Blanc. But the Mont Blanc Boa and then the Mont Blanc Carbon, I do like the heel fit much better there. And I think the Mont Blanc Speed has a little bit more substance to it. So I think that's going to be the ticket right here. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Well, we just sort of slowly introduced foam, but nowadays we see foam as almost like the weapons within the running industry. How does Ultra view foaming and the future of foaming? And
Yeah, it's interesting. So back in the day, when we launched in 2011, it was, my air is better than your gel, and my gel is better than your wave, and my wave is better than your HydroFlow, right? And I think that us, along with a couple other brands, right, new brands, Hoka, On, etc., we've looked at it much more from an engineering standpoint. Like, let's change the engineering. Let's change the drop, like Ultra. Let's change that toe box, like Ultra. Let's add a ton of cushion, like Hoka. And so I think a lot of Ultra has pioneered a lot of the engineering differences. And I think the industry is responding by changing the engineering, and the next wave is absolutely the foams. Right? You have it's not just the same engineering with one singular technology. It's, hey, we've got these foam compounds that are really, truly incredible. I mean, even a basic EVA today, it's not the EVA from 10 years ago. I mean, just your simple EVAs are substantially better. And we can track this. These are like quantifiable metrics in terms of energy return, in terms of durability, in terms of all that. And the foam stories are getting better. We recognize that. currently we're spending a lot of time and money to try to upgrade our foams. You know, I think when people say, that one of the things that is hard about those foam stories is we all put cute names to it. It's really hard for people to grasp, to visualize, and to prove out without just trying it for an extended amount of time. But the foams have definitely gotten better, and Ultra's continuing to push that. You know, I mean, we started out with our Ego, and then we go to Ego Max, and now we got our Ego Pro, coming out with a brand new foam called Ego P35 that comes out in May, which I'm really excited about. So it's absolutely the future of running shoes is the foams. They're able to get lighter. The energy return is substantially better. The durability is better. I mean, the foams, and that's not just an Ultra. That's a full industry thing. Yeah. Across all brands, foams have gotten way better in the last 5 years. Yeah. And we're absolutely right up on top of that and aware of it and working on it and continuing to improve.
And Ultra, the brand, how do you develop the brand side of things within the market? Not just from a product perspective, but how do you change or draw attention to Ultra?
Yeah, it's that's always so hard, right? And I think it's a culture thing, right? Like Ultra wants to be, we've always kind of been an alternative, a little counterculture, you know? And so, but then how do you do that in the mainstream? And then if we go to mainstream, then the loyalists are like, you guys have lost your edge, you know? So it's a really, really hard balance to be unique, to be ourselves.
So how much challenge is there with now that you've gone mainstream? Like what sort of things do you have to, I imagine that you have to play a bigger part to keep the brand identity strong as more people come into the business from outside?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't know if I have a great answer there. It's something that we spend a lot of time as a leadership team discussing is, hey, how do we keep our edge and our unique points of differentiation while also making that message a little more clear and clean? I think Ultra historically has always been very technical and very education-based, but then as you get bigger, people don't have time to sit there and listen to why zero drop, right? They just want, you know, and you deal with that at the running company, right? Like you got to sit there for 20, 30 minutes to convince these people to take the time and the energy to buy the right shoe rather than what looks good. And there's that, it's a really hard balance. And I think we're doing a good job right now. You know, we have our new campaign, Stay Out There, which I like because you can be out there. Let's be weird. I love Ultra. I want Ultra to continue to be weird, right? I love that. But then it's also like, let's stay out there for longer. And that's a longer distance. That's a longer age, right? And that's what Ultra's made, right? Ultra is made to be a healthier, more natural, work with your body product that we believe is going to help you age better, run longer. And so our Stay Out There campaign is kind of a fun. We've got a new campaign this summer that I think is a little more edgy, that I'm really excited about. And you know, it's a balance, and it's not easy. Branding is hard. Yeah. It's especially in 2025, the competition, the money that some of these brands are dumping in, it's hard. But I think we're doing a good job, and I'm really proud of. I mean, we've got the original Lone Peak right in here in front of us, and you look at it compared to the Lone Peak 9. And you can see the heritage. So I'm really proud of the fact that we've kept that heritage while still trying to reach out to the masses.
Yeah. Wow. I'll have to get a picture of this up on our socials.
There you go.
Do you run in these?
That is the original. Like that's pre-production. Like that is not even a production pair. That is the second pair of Lone Peaks ever made in the history of the world. Right there.
I remember
that is the Lone Peak. Yeah.
The 6 had this image on it.
Yeah.
On the
side.
And
I mean, I've even got that tattooed on me. I got like Lone Peak.
What is that? Is that a specific mountain?
Yeah, so all of our trail shoes are named after mountains in Utah. Where we're from. Okay. So I grew up every day.
Oh, Lone Peak's a mountain name?
In Utah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So Golden and I, when we'd get out of bed every morning as kids, we'd look up to our left, the North Star was Lone Peak. Yeah. And the big mountain that we lived at the base at was Mount Timpanogos.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so Timp is the god of Utah. Right. Of the indigenous of the Ute tribe, right? And so it's a nod to Utah. It's inspired by the peaks themselves. Yeah. They're beautiful mountains there in the Wasatch Range of Utah. We even say it right here on the original, the Wasatch Range, right? Yeah. And so Yeah, anyway, Lone Peak is a mountain in Utah.
There you go.
So Olympus obviously is the Greek mountain, but there's also an Olympus right above Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
Superior is a mountain just outside of Alta Ski Resort up in the Cottonwood Canyon areas.
Okay.
And so we just were inspired by our local mountains and our local peaks, and so we named our shoes after them.
There you go. What's something the footwear industry pretends to know, but they really don't know?
Oh boy, that's a great question, and I'm going to drop the bomb here, and that's injury prevention. I mean, all of these technologies that we talk about, the research on these in terms of injury prevention is garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not there. It's non-existent. And that's where Ultra has always come out and said, like, look, with our engineering, we can engage that big toe, and we have to be careful with what we can say, right? Because you have to have the research to prove it and all that. It's been hard, but that's the thing that, like, I mean, you look at injury rates across running, and injury rates have not changed in 50 years with all this technology, with all this modern footwear. That's, I think, the BS that, and again, most of them don't talk about it. And I wish we did. I wish Ultra's done some really good studies on it that I wish I could talk about more openly.
Why can't you?
I think it's just you got to go through these double-blind studies, which we've done.
Yeah.
It's got to get published, and then the legal team has to approve it, and it's just not really worth it. Even though I know the data, I know the research, I've looked at it, and it's like, oh, it's so awesome for Ultra. Like, I wish we could champion it a little bit more, but that's some of the stuff that that's awesome that has X amount % more energy return, but does that really help you run healthier? And that's where I think that I want the industry to get more focused on injury prevention. There's some really good research out there right now on foot strength, that if you have a strong foot, that you're going to be healthier long term. And I think some of that research is fascinating, so look it up and do some of that. So I'm a big, personally, Brian Beckstead, I'm a big proponent of foot strength, getting your feet stronger, finishing your run literally barefoot on grass, going out, like, from the founding stories of Ultra. I'm a big believer in that, and I think foot strength is going to be crucial. I really believe in biomechanics. Not that everyone runs different, you don't have to run one way, but using some pointers to just run a little bit better, I think can help a lot of people out there. So that's something I want more of.
No, that's good. That was the kind of answer I was we struggle with that as a running store ourselves.
It's hard. It's not an easy, and because it's not necessarily, it's not the same for every single person is going to be different. Right? From, hey, I don't respond well to high mileage. I've always done better personally. Some people can handle really high mileage. I've always done better if I'm doing core and gym work with lower mileage but higher intensity. That's me. That's how all my best races have come from that. Other people don't need that. They focus more on stretching, or other people work on speed workouts. So every single body is different, and that's what's hard about this.
That's
tough.
How much influence do you still have on product? And where do you come in with your input? Is it at the very initial design stage, or is it after the first prototype comes back? Is it in testing phase?
First of all, we've got a huge product department at this point. I mean, it is no longer 3 guys in a basement like it was in 2011, right? And so I'm still involved. I wouldn't say I'm in a decision-making role in those, but I'm definitely very passionate about footwear. And what's great about my role is I kind of get to pick and choose. I don't have the time, and I'm not training as much as I used to as I've gotten older with my 3 kids and life and so forth. So I don't have a chance to prototype every single Ultra shoe, but I get to pick. And damn well that Lone Peak is on that. This Lone Peak 9, I think I tested 6 prototypes in the last 18 months to get the product to where it is.
Really?
Yeah.
It's funny because you don't see a massive difference from the 8, but to know 6 prototypes have gone through there.
And I tested every single one. And a couple of them were the exact same. One just had the Vibram, one didn't. So it's not like every single one was completely different. And so my other kind of baby that is very similar to the original Ultra, the Instinct, is the Escalante. So that Escalante 4 that you don't have in your store because you can't get inventory because it's sold out across the entire globe. That was one of my other projects, right? So I get to kind of pick and choose the products that I test and prototype. we have meetings where, we talk about what the brand's going to focus on and what the models are. And, there's disagreements in the leadership, but that's fine. That friction's healthy. People are like, it shouldn't be smooth.
Yeah.
Right. There needs to be a little friction. And I'm very passionate about some of the original models. And that's what I end up focusing my time on in terms of the testing and the product.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're like Nike have that Nelson Ferris, his name is. He was around at the start, and I think he calls himself now like head of doing the right thing or something. And basically his job is to remind people what Nike was when it started. You've probably got a bit of that role. That
might be a little bit of my role. Yeah. I'm kind of the office historian. We've gone through two acquisitions.
Yeah.
Right. They moved the brand to Colorado. From Utah.
Yeah.
I stayed in Utah just to be with more of my family, and but
why did they do that?
We got bought it got finalized in spring of 2019 by a brand called VF Corp, and they own Vans, they own North Face, they own Dickies and Timberland and Smartwool and all these brands. And they wanted to kind of consolidate a lot of that. They'd bought in Smartwool, a number of years earlier, and Icebreaker. They bought Icebreaker from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so they had all these different brands. Ultra was in Logan, Utah at the time. Smartwool was in Steamboat Springs. The North Face was in California. And they decided that they wanted to be in a mountain location for all those brands. And so it was just a corporate consolidation, which I think is the right thing. I mean, North Face now has access to mountains where in San Francisco, they weren't that close to the ski resort, right? And so the product testing is a little more difficult. Now they're close. And you can kind of share a lot of those shared resources. And so that's why they moved us to Colorado.
Gotcha.
It makes total sense in terms of consolidating all these outdoor brands into a central location. And that's what VF did.
Okay, cool.
So,
can you give us a quick rundown on Low Peak 9 Plus? The updates, what the Plus means?
Sure. The Plus is really simple. It's the Vibram.
Okay.
We have our Max Track. We've made improvements over the last couple of years, and but Vibram's the brand name, and you're going to pay a premium for it, right? In the United States, Vibram doesn't have as much kind of oomph as it does internationally, and so the international market is skipping the 9. So the US is the only country that's doing the 9
as a price point type option.
It's a bit more price point. Correct. We will be launching the 9 Plus in the United States later, and it's going to be with just select retailers and online only, where the rest of the world is getting the 9 Plus only. So you don't have to worry about the 9 versus the 9 Plus internationally. It's only in the US that you'll see the price difference from there, right? So that's the biggest update is the Vibram. We also went from top to bottom to make sure that additional durability and premiumness of the Vibram is transferred throughout the entire shoe. So we didn't change the name of the midsole foam, but it is a better foam, right? We really wanted to make sure that it lasted longer, had maybe a little bit softer squish to it, but it also didn't bottom out. And so you're going to notice that. You'll slip it on, and you're going to be like, oh wow, it's making nice. But we are very confident that it's going to last for more kilometers out there. Right. And then of course the upper. We've reinforced the toe cap, so we really wanted to minimize any type of delamination there. We're using a really good ripstop mesh. We're using on the overlays, we're using this no stitch overlay that is just awesome for durability. So we've really said, look, we wanted to, and then of course last, which has historically been a weakness, and I'm the first to admit it, is the aesthetics. The 9 is beautiful. And I think you're going to see that from Ultra, that as we've really invested, as we go more mass, right, we recognize that function's great, but we also need it to make those shoes look better.
Makes my job easier.
Exactly. And so I think our colorways, the aesthetics, the designs, we're really just elevating the designs across the board. And then this 9 Plus, it was, hey, let's get this thing more durable. I think both we want the step and fill. We want that step and fill to just but then we want it to be
exactly
for more longer, and we nailed it. I can tell you right now, I am incredibly confident in this Lone Peak 9. It's awesome.
That the how you describe putting it on, feeling like we got our few staff pairs, come through, and every staff member said exactly that. They're like, oh boy, that's comfy.
The slip and fill is noticeably better, but we are also very confident that it's going to stay that way for even more miles, kilometers.
Well, okay, like I've sometimes found the buckling for some of the toe boxes, like I just get a bit of cinching or this. I took the dog for a walk this morning and I didn't feel it at all. I looked down, I'm like, yeah, my foot's flexing, but shoe flexes with it, but I'm not feeling any of it. So it's like, for me, that Lone Peak, especially this new one, the shape and the feel is exactly how I picture Ultra as a brand to feel. Can you just quickly describe the relationship or how a brand works with Vibram? So, like, how do you outsource the full design of the outer sole?
No. I mean, we design it; they approve it.
Oh, right. Okay.
There's checks and balances with partnering with them. Obviously, you're going to pay the premium, but you also know what you're getting, right? I mean, we're using Vibram Mega Grip. Let's be clear about that, which is the great outsole. So we design it, they approve it.
Okay.
And that relationship is very, very positive. We've added it to the Timp, right? We've added it now to the Lone Peak. So we've tried to compete with our own outsoles, and man, the Vibrams they're just great. They really make great product, and they also want to work with premium brands, right? And so usually it's kind of a stamp of, hey, that you guys are legit, you're premium, you make a good product, and so. That's how that relationship works, and it's similar with like Gore-Tex, right? I mean, you pay a premium, but you know that there's going to be quality there.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll wrap it up, but I really like to ask questions that might help me in the future. So, where do you see, firstly, the future of Ultra in 5 years from now? What are we looking at when someone walks in store and looks at the footwear wall?
I think that we're kind of blossoming right now, right? You mentioned mass. I like to say, that recognizability is going to be there. I think you're going to see more brand continuity in terms of the designs. We call it our VBL, our visual brand language. We want you to be able to recognize that it's an Ultra, and we like that we look a little different, right? We don't want to just blend in. So I think a lot of the brands just kind of blends. We want to be visually unique. And I don't think we want to be eighth anymore, right? And so I think that as you walk into a shoe wall, we've invested under this last ownership group a lot in terms of aesthetics, quality, making sure that the brand is strong. And so we want someone that when they walk in 3 to 5 years, they're going to see a lot more Ultras on the wall, and they're going to be that much more confident in our technologies, in our engineering, and in our education. And so we do not expect to stay where we are. We have big growth plans, and I absolutely expect us to be there in 3 to 5 years.
So it's interesting the confidence that a customer will have walking in. And I never really gave this much credit at all because I thought it was just superficial a lot of the time. But nowadays I'm seeing the familiarity with the brand on athletes that someone watches on TV. And that's where I think Ultra misses a little. Because it happens with Saucony over here a big time. Like, they have some racing product that looks that is fantastic. In fact, I think it's some of the best in the industry. But customers are very hesitant to wear it because it hasn't been proven on the roads over here. And so and they see a lot of the bigger brands on the feet of the athletes. I think that helps us actually.
Okay.
So
that's
just
good to know.
To pass on to Levi.
Well, this is different than that, but you've probably seen this. We call them Ultra Maniacs, but Ultra does have the #1 brand loyalty out there.
Oh, we see it.
You see it. We got quantifiable data on this. This is consumer insights. And so what we're confident about is that we continue to improve, and as we focus on that step and fill, we focus on that quality, we focus on the aesthetics. We know that once you get into an Ultra, you stay. And so that's why we're confident about our ability to grow over the coming years as we add, and hopefully we add some of those key athletes, right? We have a pretty good trail team. We need to work on that road team and build out some of that race type product. But we do know that when you get hooked onto Ultra, there's not a lot of comp. We have a few chaser brands that are copying us. But we know that Ultra's got the best brand loyalty in the world when it comes to runners. and we're going to build on that.
Yeah.
We know that seeing an elite athlete wear it is one thing, but having your friend be like, this stuff is the best, that also means a lot too. And you're going to continue to see us emphasize that through community group runs, community outreach, social outreach, that Ultra's here to stay. We've got a fantastic product that's unique, that's different, and frankly, it just works. And so that's where our confidence is that as we grow, we're going to get those elite athletes. This is going to happen. Right now our money's we're not spending that money yet, but it's going to happen. And we have big plans, and I'm very confident we're going to get there. We make awesome product.
Yeah. Oh, well, if this Lone Peak is anything to sort of show what the future will bring, it's good.
It sure is. And the new Tornate too. This new Tornate that launches, don't sleep on this one. What
month is that? What month?
I think, when does it launch here in Australia?
Feb.
Yeah, it's out in like 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
Got him in the warehouse
it's
now?
coming.
You got him next week, here we go.
Yeah, no, it's going to be right. I mean, we got this Lone Peak now, and this Torn's going to just take, and then the new Flow, which is our 4mm drop shoe, that's coming out with that new Ego P35 in is that May or June here? Anyway, it's coming out coming out soon, cool. Right? And so that 1, 2, 3, and we got a bunch of other great product coming out, but this is going to be a banner year for us, and I think if you've liked Ultra in the past, you're gonna love Ultra in the future, and if you haven't tried us, give us a shot. I think you're going to be impressed.
Cool. Well, we're going to go for a run later and a beer and have another chat at the running company Torquay. So all the best with the rest of your trip, Brian. Yeah, hope you enjoy Australia and get some good runs in.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Thanks to this week's sponsor, Ultra Running. Check out their latest shoe, the Lone Peak 9 Plus, via www.ultrarunning.com.au or visit your local specialty running store.